Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open. We are live. It is Wednesday, October 22nd. We have a pre-market where one stock is up about 70%. Don't really know why, but nonetheless, it is indeed up. A lot of you guys know which one I'm talking about, and this is, I think, kind of one of the main stories of the day, and we're going to see how it plays out. Sorry, it's not up 70%. It's up 98% now. Talking about Beyond Meat. I don't know why we just can't have a normal market. I don't know why we have to have these types of stocks do what they do, but this is what they're doing. Beyond Meat, $7.24. We left the market closed yesterday, and this thing was $4.45. It is now $7.29. If you look at the options flow, and we're going to look at some stats on Beyond Meat, it's quite incredible. Some of the amount of trades that are coming in terms of the option flow, but also some of the people that went long on this thing back when it was like $2. Maybe they knew something was coming, but there you go. Beyond Meat has 16x'd over the past week from 50 cents to $8, basically. I think it was at like $8.50 a little bit earlier before right now. And that's what you got going on. So, look, I am watching on the sidelines from this. For those who are in it, do what you got to do. If you got to trade it, you got to trade it. The Walmart partnership was announced yesterday, and I guess that is somewhat bullish. Well, it's obviously more than somewhat bullish, given the stock has run as much as it's run. It was also a short at 60%. So I think that's another reason why Beyond Meat is moving the way it's moving. But nonetheless, we're going to see when the market opens, when a lot more capital comes into not only this stock, but a lot of other stocks, and algos get in place, what actually happens if retail gets in. There's a little bit of a story on retail trying to squeeze the hedge funds that are shorting it. So we'll talk more about kind of what's going on here. But nonetheless, Beyond Meat, one of the biggest runners today, is up 100% in the pre-markets. Outside of that, we got a bunch of other headlines. So we had some Google, Amazon stuff that happened yesterday. We'll talk about that. Google right there up about 2.25% in the pre-markets. You have a bunch of quotes from Trump yesterday. He was hosting a Diwali celebration with a bunch of Indian leaders, and he said a bunch of things about India and Russia. So we'll talk about some of those quotes and what those quotes implicate. The broader S&P 500 is relatively okay. It's less than 1% from all-time highs. Dow Jones was closed just below 47,000 yesterday. And the theme that we've been talking about for this past week is some of these momentum stocks like the Oklos, the D-Waves of the world. They've been losing a lot of their momentum based on just looking at their stock prices. And look, in the pre-markets, it's not that much better. Now, it's a red pre-market, but it's not a deep red pre-market. Some of those names, like an Oklo, continue to get hit in the pre-market, down 4%. You got a D-Wave right there that's down about 5%. So I think one of the most important things when the market opens is, hey, can some of these stocks that have gotten eviscerated really over the past week, and a lot of them are falling from all-time highs, and it doesn't mean that they're going to zero, but it does mean that a lot of the momentum that was carrying them to these massive valuations structurally could be dying out. And I think today's going to be a really important day, because yesterday all of these names were down 10%. If that continues for a second day in a row, we might have some issues in these names. If the S&P continues to go higher, or at least stay stable, NVIDIA stays at 180, NVIDIA doesn't tank to 160 while Oklo's tanking 30-40%, that means the market's deciding, oh, we are done playing with these stocks and we are going back to the important stocks that actually run the market. And so we're going to have to see. So I think today's going to be a really important day to see if that ends up continuing to happen, or if it kind of goes the other direction. So we got a lot to talk about. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Good morning. Beyond Meat is doing its thing. And let me know in the chat if you made any money off this, if you traded it, if you got in a while ago. I saw a bunch of screenshots yesterday of people that bought in at like freaking 50 cents on October 17th, 5 days ago. So you do have a ton of people that actually made some money. A lot of them sold at like $2-3. They didn't think it would go that much higher, but yeah, there you go. We are now much higher, and that's what we got. A couple of you saying you made some money on it. A couple of you guys saying some money. All the money going into Beyond Meat. Yeah, maybe a lot of the money is leaving those other momentum names, and it's just going into the new toy, which is Beyond Meat. We're going to see if that ends up continuing to play out. All right, so let's get into it. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Good morning. Once again, got a lot of stories, and let's get into it. Siraj, thank you for the $20 super chat. Appreciate it. Marathon Government Summit today. The government had a big crypto panel yesterday, and we'll talk about the implications of that crypto panel. There was a lot of different things they discussed in regards to new payment infrastructure, a lot of stuff that seems relatively bullish for the future of crypto in this country. And so we'll talk about that, and we'll do a briefing on that. Also, let's not forget, we had Netflix earnings yesterday, which I think we'll start off with, along with Tesla earnings later today, which we'll do a big preview on. I think we'll be guests to kick off Tesla earnings. In terms of what we have with Netflix, so let's just start off with that, then we'll get to some of the other earnings that we had today. Netflix had a good quarter. The problem is they had a Brazilian tax dispute with some authorities, which caused a $690 million penalty that they had to pay. And as a result, their operating margins got hit by about 3%, and that means their actual net income got hit by 16% in terms of EPS. So Netflix right there, 587 versus 697, missed by 16%. Revenue came in line with expectations. Netflix is down in the pre-market. I think this is not a real big deal for Netflix. At the end of the day, Netflix is a phenomenal company, and they will continue to keep executing and continue to grow over the long term. However, for the people that thought they were going to smash earnings, they didn't, right? It was a good quarter. It was not a phenomenal quarter. One could argue it's not even a great quarter, because when you miss by 16% on EPS, even if it's something that's out of your control, like Brazilian tax authorities, that can still cause some pain. And unfortunately, that pain is why the street did not get excited for Netflix. Now, I don't think this is a contagion with all the Mac 7 companies. I think this is isolated towards Netflix. And, unfortunately, it sucks that Netflix had to kick off big tech earnings with this. We do have Tesla today, and, I hope Tesla has good earnings, but I'm not expecting anything massive. And, if we don't get something massive from Tesla and Netflix, I don't think that's emblematic of Meta, Microsoft, Google, et cetera, not having good earnings. Those are the ones that really, really, really matter. And so as long as we see some momentum around those names, then I think we're going to be okay. But regardless, that is what you had from Netflix yesterday. Yeah, and one can make the argument Netflix has nothing to do with the rest of big tech. At the end of the day, Netflix is a media company. It is a tech company, but they buy media, and they sell a subscription against that media. They are not the ones spending $450 billion on CapEx to try to, compete with the other hyperscalers. So from that perspective, I don't think it would be that big of a deal. Transitioning to Google, though, Google is up in the pre-markets. Why is Google up in the pre-markets? Well, yesterday after hours, this bad boy got all the way up to 257, right now at 255. So Google fell to 244 yesterday when there were rumors of OpenAI launching a new browser. OpenAI did launch that browser, and we'll talk about it in a second. But then after hours, you had Anthropic rumors around, hey, Anthropic, which has largely used AWS, might end up signing a multiple tens of billions of dollar deal with Google for cloud computing.
Google on a new cloud deal, potentially worth tens of billions of dollars in compute. That's according to Bloomberg. So far, Amazon has been its main infrastructure provider and its largest backer, investing around $8 billion into the company. Google has put in about $3 billion and has supported Anthropic's multi-cloud strategy. I reached out to both companies, haven't heard back yet. I will say this, Google was down all day because of that OpenAI web browser, but those shares bouncing higher in the after hours, up more than 3% now, Mel.
All right, Mac, thank you. Mackenzie Sagalos.
So look, I thought that was actually pretty bullish for Google, because at the end of the day, if Anthropic's thinking of diversifying their cloud revenue spend, then, Google being the beneficiary of that, and maybe not Microsoft as much as their competitors, that is bullish. Now, is it bearish Amazon? Not really. Amazon already makes a ton of money off Anthropic. I mean, there were rumors that they paid them over $3 billion in AWS just this year alone. Amazon was up 2% yesterday, even after the outage. It was down 1.2%, still down 1.2% off of this Anthropic news. Bullish Google, not bearish Amazon, but nonetheless, the street's going to react, and, they're going to take Google higher, take Amazon lower based on that headline. But I don't think it's a headline that would necessarily cause that much pain for Amazon. Can we talk about how many times ChatGPT mentioned Google during the live stream? I didn't even watch the live stream, so I don't know how many times OpenAI mentioned Google. I would imagine they probably wanted to mention Google a lot to be able to show off their new browser. Look, in terms of their new browser, again, I really do think it's a nothing burger. It's not the most exciting thing to me when you take a look at this browser. And the thing is, number one, it looks like Perplexity's Comet. And number two, there's the browser right there. Number two, I don't know why Chrome's not going to be able to do this either. I like, all it is a web browser with an AI assistant on the corner or on the side. And as a result, when you press Ask Gemini or Ask ChatGPT, that's it. So I think Chrome should quickly come out with something that rivals this and just shows you, hey, you don't need to use something like this, especially because they have the distribution. I think there will definitely be a lot of people that use Atlas, which is the name of their browser. I just don't think it's a death argument for Chrome. Chrome already has it, but Chrome Pro has it, right? Not the regular Chrome. I heard Google Pro has it, but not Chrome in general. Some of you guys saying, okay, maybe I have to update to see if Chrome already has it. I've never seen it on Chrome. But if that's the case, then yeah, regular Chrome has it as well. That's weird. Okay, I feel like I should have known that, or maybe they need to do a better job of like telling people that's there. But a more integrated version of Gemini in the browser, I think, is inevitable. And so, like, again, OpenAI is going to get users from this. It's going to be good for them. I just don't know if it's a bear case for Google. I mean, Google lost $100 billion when this announcement. And so it's just like, if you picked up that dip at 244, it was really a gift. And, you know, you got a nice little trade from it. 256 right here is what we have on Google. Salesforce, that's flat in the pre-market. Meta, that's down 0.3%. Amazon down 1.2%. PayPal, that's down 0.5%. Apple, that's down 0.5%. SMCI down 1%. Ethereum and Bitcoin, unfortunately, have not been able to get a lot of momentum. The problem with Ethereum and Bitcoin right here is Bitcoin went up to 114 yesterday. It came all the way down to 108 by the end of the day. Now it's back at 108. And then Ethereum got to 4,100, right back down to 3,800. So a lot of the momentum that they saw for a little bit, potentially based on the rally of gold dying out, which we'll talk about in a second, it's almost like that money came to crypto and that money left crypto. I mean, it is one of the weirdest Octobers I've seen for Bitcoin in particular. And as a result, all the crypto derivatives, whether it's a Coinbase, a MicroStrategy, a HOOD, a BMNR right there, 50.98, not getting as much love. And as a result, those are getting hit. Now, let's talk about gold. So gold is not doing the best. It's down another 1.5%. As you can see right there, silver down another 1%. The hard thing to understand about gold is that although it's had its massive rally, it has lost 2.5 trillion of market cap over the past 2 days. Another 8% decline. This is the largest two-day drop since 2013. So just like the momentum stocks, like your quantum and nuclear names that are not really getting any love in the pre-market, and you got like some stocks that are down 0.5%, a lot of those stocks are down 5% right now in the pre-markets. Gold continuing to go down as well. I think the biggest thing a lot of people should be watching out for, just as a market participant, is, hey, is gold going to recover? Are momentum stocks going to recover? And we're not just talking about momentum as in, you know, Amazon, Google that have momentum. We're talking about massive high beta names that don't really have tons and tons of revenue earnings, but had a lot of momentum carrying them on their narratives. Are they going to recover? Because if they don't recover, and if gold doesn't recover, maybe they even go sideways, even if they don't keep going down, that means there's some structural shifts happening in this market. And I think it would become pretty evident over the next coming days if you don't see any level of movement atop on those numbers. But it seems like that could be playing out right now, and that's how we would ultimately have to navigate it. Gold, again, right here, down at 4,051. It loses 51 points. It's down below 4,000. And psychologically, that could also be something that a lot of traders don't necessarily love to see. Applied Digital looks like they got a deal right here in the pre-markets. APLD 33.98. That is up 4%. And so we'll see what deal they had. I know they had a good earnings a couple of weeks ago as well, which got this stock to really get a move. Same thing with Navitas. Applied Digital enters a $5 billion 15-year lease agreement for an AI factory in North Dakota. Okay, North Dakota. There you go. Applied Digital, $5 billion 15-year lease agreement. We'll try to get some more details on it. It looks like they're working with two of the world's largest hyperscalers. They didn't announce which of the hyperscalers. 600 megawatts is what they're going to be looking for in this North Dakota AI factory. Again, more of these companies getting these deals from the hyperscalers. And I think a lot of them that have rallied over the past couple of weeks, I mean, they really need more deals to justify the rally. And so Applied Digital showing some of the deals that you have right here. Russia, Ukraine. All right, we got some headlines there. So I think this is stuff that was talked about last night as well when Trump was speaking. The Financial Times right here saying Russia strikes Ukraine after Trump-Putin meeting canceled. A lot of this was hinted yesterday based on what Trump said about Putin. He was explicitly asked if you want to meet with Putin, and he said no, he doesn't want to waste his time. And, well, now it looks like you're actually seeing the ramifications of that.
I don't want to have a wasted meeting. I don't want to have a waste of time, so I'll see what happens. But we did all of these great deals, great peace deals. They're all peace deals. They're agreements, solid agreements, every one of them. But this one, and I said, go to the line of battle. the battlefield lines, and you pull back and you go home, and everybody takes some time off because you got two countries that are killing each other. You got two countries that are losing 5,000 to 7,000 soldiers a week. So we'll see what happens. We haven't made a determination.
Now, Russia has been striking Ukraine for the past couple of weeks now, so it's not like this is like the first strike in a long time. I mean, this is part of the reason why Trump is pissed off, right? Is because they haven't stopped striking Ukraine and they haven't agreed to any level of a ceasefire. This is after the Putin phone call he had last week, which he said, was reasonable in terms of getting to some level of negotiation. And this was after the Zelensky meeting in the Oval Office. So even after both meetings, and this is like multiple meetings he's had this year with both of these guys, especially after the Alaska conference they had back in June, still no progress on this. I mean, it goes to show how unbelievably deep this conflict is and how hard it is to really get to a negotiation here. If they were to do it, markets probably would like it, but right now it doesn't look as easy to get this job done. Speaking of deals, government shutdown still in place. You had a trade representative, Jameson Greer, give some thoughts in the morning, and basically he said that the Democrats continue to hold up the negotiations, which again, Mike Johnson and Trump and all these, it's the same story every single day, one side blaming the other. Kevin Hassett yesterday said maybe by the end of the week we're going to get some level of resolution on this, but I don't know, dude. It looks grim. It looks very grim. Kalshi is still estimating November 16th. There's a chance for the shutdown to last. We are now 21 days into the shutdown. The headline yesterday as well was that Trump said he is not going to speak to the Democrats until the government is reopened. So, I mean, if the Democrats don't want to talk until the government, if the Democrats want to talk before the government is open to get to a deal, and Trump's not willing to talk until after it's open, you got two sides that are at a standstill, and I don't know how it's going to be resolved. Again, markets don't care about it too much right now, but I think if this lasts more than 30 days, and we're 9 days away from that happening, markets might start to care. But that is what you've got with Russia, Ukraine, and some of this government shutdown. The rare earth stocks, let's take a look at them. Wow, continue to go down in the pre-market. MP down 3.5, TMQ down 7, CRML down 9, LAC down 3.3, USAR down 5.5. The quantum stocks, D-Wave, that's down 6%. IONQ, that is down 2%. Rigetti, this one has gotten hit pretty bad. That's down another 3.5%. Nano Nuclear, that one is down 2.4. Oklo is down 5.3. Oklo, again, was at 147 yesterday. Now it's at 132. All-time high was around 193. And then SMR, this stock is slightly flat to green. So you got all those names still continuing to take a hit. The Bitcoin miners turned data centers. Galaxy got some love yesterday because they had good earnings. That's down 4%. IREN down 4%. Cypher down 5. CleanSpark down 3. Wolf down 1. Hive down 6. Bitfarms down 7. Marathon down 2, and Riot down 2. Again, a lot of these names, whether they're Bitcoin miners, regionals, or not regionals, rare earths, regionals actually doing pretty well after some good earnings that we saw over the past couple of days. It's Bitcoin miners, rare earth stocks, quantum, and nuclear. Those are the ones right now, as the S&P 500 is $2 away from all-time highs, are down 30 to 40% over the past couple of weeks. And I think today is going to be really important to see structurally if that one can continue. Jess says weak hand speculative stocks and those with zero earnings getting hit hard. Let's go. Final push before the move up. Yeah, I mean, again, the thing is a lot of these names can change their stock price action. The 10-year, by the way, slightly up, but still below 4 if they put up a good earnings. The hard part about understanding all this is like, if these companies don't have any earnings to begin with, what earnings are they going to put up? What could they possibly say? Right? Like if Google's having a crappy couple months, they can put up a massive earnings and change the entire narrative. But if one of these stocks are having a crappy couple weeks and they don't have any earnings, what could they possibly say? They get like, what is Big Bear AI going to say? There's no growth. They already guided for no growth. The stock was almost $10 last week. Now it's at $6.91. All the people that bought at $9.50, like what can they look forward to on earnings? And so I think they didn't even take questions last time on their call. Big Bear AI did not take Q&A. They didn't take any questions. So it's going to be really interesting to see, is the money going to come back to these names, or is it just going to go into an AMD and Amazon, undervalued opportunities that are out there that have a bit more fundamentals? But then you see Beyond Meat and you kind of wonder, all right, like what exactly is going on right here? And I think this one is more so just a squeeze in the context of the hedge funds that are getting excited about it with retail. But we're going to have to see, where exactly this ends up playing out. Citigroup initiating coverage on Michael Saylor's strategy, MSTR 485 price target. All right, so you got Citigroup joining the bull side of MSTR. Again, Bitcoin makes a turn towards the end of the year. I think, strategy and MSTR does very well, but Bitcoin's got to make that move to actually get you that turn. Now, here is the story on Beyond Meat to give a little bit more of analysis on it. I thought this was a very interesting to see. Citadel is one of the main companies that's shorting Beyond Meat. And as a result, you're getting a lot of retail investors that are thinking, hey, maybe this is a GameStop situation from 2021. So Ethan is the CEO and founder of Beyond Meat. He's from Missouri, and his whole idea was, hey, let's revolutionize the way people eat food. Beyond Meat crashed 99% from 2019 to $2.39 to 60 cents. And Citadel seems to be the largest short of Beyond Meat. The reason I think this is important to take a look on is that if this is another GameStop situation, I'm not saying anyone should jump in here because I think it's just too risky, and I wouldn't jump in here either. But if it feels like GameStop in 2021 and people are bored and the Oklos of the world are not exciting anymore to a lot of people, they might just pile into Beyond Meat. And that is something that could potentially squeeze the hedge funds. Now, again, does it have any real momentum to be able to sustain the test of time and actually turn into a stock that deserves this valuation? I don't know. But that could be something that we see if this continues to play out. There's a debt cancellation story on Beyond Meat as well. Yes, that is true in terms of them exercising and getting rid of some of the warrants, which is a fair point. I don't know if that's enough for a 1,600% rally in the past 5 days, but I guess if people think it is, then that's why Beyond Meat is getting some of this excitement right here. Okay, let's get into some of the other headlines that we have. So we'll keep an eye on Beyond Meat and see what happens when the market opens. In terms of some of the macro news that we've got going on. So first, let's look at what Meta has said today. Axios is reporting that Meta has cut several hundred units from its AI division. Meta reportedly concluded that its long-standing AI efforts had become overly bureaucratic in hopes the reorganization will create a more fragile or agile operation. This was really interesting to me because Meta has been the one that's been hiring all these workers and spending billions and billions of dollars on AI research. And the fact that they actually cut workers today, I was like, oh, I guess Meta is just realizing they don't need as many of the people they hired. Now, they're probably not getting rid of the people that paid a couple $100 million to, but they are probably getting rid of a lot of the middle management. And it does make me a little worried for Meta going into earnings. I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you own Meta, even if they have a 10% decline, who cares? Meta's going to be multi-trillion dollar company one day as they just continue to grow. But I feel like Zuck's been spending like crazy. I feel like Meta doesn't really have an AI plan outside of incorporating AI into the advertising. Llama has not really taken off. The Vibes app, the Sora sort of copycat, is not really something that I think people care about. And he's spending money like crazy getting all this AI talent, and we don't exactly know what they're going to do with the AI talent. So I think it's one of those stories where you have to really trust that Zuck is going to figure it out. You don't have a product like Gemini that's growing massively and integrating in terms of the entire ecosystem of Google, where you can see the implications of what Google's doing with their AI. It's just their ads are getting better, which is fine. They make a lot of money off ads. But, it might not be the most revolutionary form of AI that is justifying all the CapEx that they're spending on. So I think Meta is one of the most cautious earnings that I'm going into for big tech. And I think they're still going to crush it. But I am just curious, what is the strategy for Meta to actually make this happen? And we're going to have to see how this ends up playing out. One final thing on Beyond Meat, I just forgot to share this real quick. They are also going to be increasing the shares outstanding from 500 million to 3 billion. If you actually look on the 8K and the proposal that shareholders have to vote on, they are trying to increase the share count massively in order to be able to withstand additional share issuances of common stock. So this is going to be voted on November 19th, 2025. If you are a shareholder and you buy shares, you're going to have to be voting on these proposals. That would be something to watch out for Beyond Meat as well, because if they increase the outstanding shares by 6x, 500 million to 3 billion, I mean, obviously that would be a lot of shares that would be out there as well, which is important to look like. Nebius did announce their earnings. They will have earnings on November 3rd, I believe, or November 11th, if I'm not wrong, in the pre-market 104.53. Nebius, another one of these names that actually has, great earnings, great revenues, but they also got hit from 140 to 104, probably justifiably because, they didn't deserve to get up to those levels. Now, look, I was speaking to some people yesterday. I don't think Nebius gets to $80, but if it gets to $80, I think that's where I get really excited. 80 would basically be a 20 billion market cap. The entire Microsoft deal is worth 20 billion. So if the street actually took it down to those levels, which I don't think they will, I think maybe you'd see like 90, 95 potentially if things got really ugly. But I think the macro would have to get ugly because you're not seeing Nebius independently like a lot of those other momentum names lose everything. You're seeing it, have a floor because there's actual real revenue and earnings right there. If it gets to those levels, I'd get very interested. I don't know if it would actually get to those levels, but that's something we're gonna have to see if it ends up playing out. I do have some sold puts at 98, so if that ends up getting assigned, then that would get assigned. Imagine not having your full port on leverage on Beyond Meat. Yeah, you could have retired your entire generation, bro. You could have retired your entire bloodline being on leverage Beyond Meat from 5 days ago. Speaking of people that want to retire their bloodline, I saw this video this morning. This is a little bit of a fun video that hopefully encapsulates what investing in 2025 has been like.
I have a great plan for our economy.
I just invested my life savings in the stock market.
Well, that's not good.
The market always goes up and to the right.
I'm putting tariffs on all foreign countries.
The market just tanked. I gotta pull out.
Pull out? You just went in.
Too late. I lost like $9,000, but that could have been way worse.
Actually, I'm removing all tariffs.
The market's skyrocketing. I gotta get back in.
Don't buy when it's hot.
Too late. I'm gonna be a millionaire.
Actually, I'm gonna do 100% tariff on China.
It's tanking. I gotta pull out.
No, last time you did that, you lost $9,000.
You're right.
Oh, thank God.
I'm gonna take out a loan and buy the dip.
No, don't do that.
Too late. I'm gonna be a millionaire.
Actually, we're gonna put 1,000% tariff on China. Actually, just kidding. I'm not doing tariffs.
It's back up.
We're doing tariffs.
It crashed.
We're not doing tariffs.
Yes.
We're doing tariffs.
You're gonna do the tariff and under the tariff.
Tariff, no tariff, tariff, no tariff, tariff, no tariff, tariff, no
I just
tariff,
lost
tariff.
everything. I guess I just have to actually work for my money.
Yeah. Just kidding. We're doing tariffs. I have a great.
I mean, does that not encapsulate 2025, bro? That's literally 2025. And you were either on the right side of when he said he was putting in the tariffs or when he was, not putting on the tariffs, aka you either buying the dip or selling the top. And most of us were not selling the top, at least the short-term top, because that's hard to do. But a lot of us were buying the dip, which is why it worked out. Speaking of buying the dip, take a look at this chart right here. Tech funds, record inflow last week, 10.4 billion. The 4-week moving average now is 5.2 billion, surpassing the previous all-time high of 4.8 billion. So, in terms of people buying the dip, I mean, we continue to see tech funds continue to get flows of people buying the dip. And whether it's tariff or no tariff and the emotional toll that tariff or no tariff takes on everyone, people continue to buy. PTSD, I'm shaking and my eye is twitching. Dude, April was a time. April was a freaking time. You just made us watch a reel. Okay, technically, that's a Twitter video. It's not a reel, okay? So it's different. But I feel like if I show a reel, it's actually hopefully worth people's time and it's a little funny. But these other reels that I get every day, dude, by the way, all the people that followed me on Instagram, all the amount of reels that you guys are sending in my DMs, and I'm not clicking on them. I'm sorry. I'm just not. I know you're sending it for fun, but I'm not clicking on it. I get to show one reel every 90 days. That's my rule. So that was my reel that I showed you guys. I really don't show videos like that on this channel. Like I really never show funny stuff like that. But I saw it in the morning. I was like, oh, we could all relate to it. But you guys on Instagram just sending massive, massive amounts of reels. I'm like, guys, I'm not clicking on this. I don't click on my best friends that send reels. I can't click on this stuff. There's no way. Just no freaking way. Someone said, Star Buccaneers sent me a 2-minute, 19-second reel yesterday. And this was my exact response. Let me show you guys my response. I'm not messing around, bro. I'm putting my foot down. I'm putting my foot down. This was my response. 2 minutes and 19 seconds. You may have lost your mind. You may have lost your mind. Did I click on it? No, of course not. 2 minutes and 19 seconds? Are we crazy, bro? You think I'm going to sit there and watch something for 2 minutes and 19 seconds? It's no way. But it's a principle now. It is a principle to not click on these memes. That is my principle. If you want to follow my IG, there it is right there in the chat. I've not really posted on it. I don't know if I'm ever going to post on it, but yeah, you can follow if you want. I don't know. I don't love IG. Thought I should make one, but we'll see. Maybe next year we'll keep posting more. But I'm not clicking on these reels. I'm not clicking on these reels. All right, let's get into earnings. So we had a bunch of earnings today outside of Netflix. We'll do a little bit more of a Tesla conversation later into the show, and we're going to get more stuff with Tesla. But we did have a bunch of earnings throughout the day, and these earnings were pretty good. So first of all, Vertiv crushed it. Vertiv is an important company when it comes to data centers. Take a look at their EPS. They beat by 25% on EPS, 125 versus 99 cents, massive beat. And then 267 versus 259 on revenue. That's about a $400 million beat on rev. Vertiv is up 5.5%. Vertiv and VRT and VST, these names have been ultra long names to go if you believe in data centers starting in the end of 2023. I think Nancy owns VST, Nancy Pelosi. So they've done incredibly well, and they're putting up more and more earnings. I mean, EPS is up 60% year over year. Revenue is up 30% year over year, which is quite incredible to see for a company like Vertiv. Then you had Thermo Fisher, beat by 5% on EPS, 579, 11.12 billion versus 10.9 on revenue. They beat by 2%. Revenue's up 5% year over year, and EPS is also up 10% year over year. Again, we're seeing a lot more companies continue to beat and raise. Thermo Fisher, that's up 2.5%. So earnings continuing to not really disappoint. Then you have Hilton Hotels. This is the consumer. Are people actually traveling? Yeah, 211 versus 205. They beat by 3%, 3.12 versus 3.01. They beat by 4% on revenue. EPS is up 10% year over year. Revenue is up 9% year over year. Hilton, that stock up 2.3%. You're just seeing tons and tons of diversity, whether it's consumer companies, semiconductor companies, GPU cooling companies, all these different names that are beating earnings. Boston Scientific, 75 cents versus 71 cents. That's a beat by 6%. 5 billion versus 4.9 billion revenue, beat by 2%. EPS up 19% year over year. Revenue is up 20% year over year. Boston Scientific, that stock up 3.35%. It really, really is nice to see a lot of these companies beating. By the way, here's another stat that we had from yesterday. It'll be updated probably by the end of the week. 60 companies out of the S&P 500 have reported earnings so far. 85% of them have beat earnings by at least 8%. So very similar to Q2 results. You are getting earnings beats, and you are getting pretty strong earnings beats across the board, which is really helping out to make the bull case that the market deserves its premium. Now, AT&T, unfortunately, down 2.34% right there. They missed by 1% on revenue. Very small miss on revenue. EPS came in line with expectations. AT&T, you're not expecting something super volatile. Most people are buying this for the dividend. But even that, a small 1% miss on EPS or on revenue is not enough to be bearish on the consumer when it comes to AT&T. And that's why that stock is down about 2.3%. DraftKings, so those were most of the earnings today. DraftKings did buy a company yesterday. It's up 3.72%. They bought Railbird. Railbird is a company that does prediction markets. DraftKings got initiated with a buy at Stifel for $51. I think the Railbird acquisition is bullish because they're entering into the prediction market space. I do think it's DraftKings acknowledging, hey, Polymarket and Kalshi are really crushing it. And if we don't get into this space, sports betting might end up leaving our platform, even though it has a lot more sophisticated ways that you can bet on individual players and spreads and all this stuff. Kalshi and Polymarket might end up incorporating all of that, including Robinhood, into their platforms. And so I think DraftKings needed a way to be like, well, yeah, you can bet on how many times Jay Powell is going to cough during the Fed meeting on our platform as well. I just don't know if the users of DraftKings care that much about Jay Powell and economics. It's funny because the users on a Kalshi or Polymarket or Robinhood care about Jay Powell, and they also probably care about the Lakers game. But I don't know if the users of DraftKings care about Jay Powell. And so that incremental volume that you're getting from non-sports events, I don't know how much that adds to the bottom line. So I think it's a bullish acquisition, but I wonder how much it's really going to change the overall structure of their business. But you do have DraftKings right there. That is up 3.4%. The Google deal yesterday was that Anthropic is looking to sign a multi-$10 billion deal with Google. And that's why Google right there is up 2.23%. Again, that is not confirmed. That is just a rumor that Anthropic put out, or that Bloomberg put out yesterday. And so we're going to have to see if that ends up happening. But that's why Google is getting some love right here. Speaking of AI, here's what Elon said yesterday. Quite fascinating. So Jason Calacanis said Amazon is definitely going to replace all their employees. The New York Times put out a report yesterday that we talked about that Amazon is looking to replace 600,000 employees over the next couple of years with physical robots. Elon said AI and robots will replace all jobs. Working will be optional, like growing your own vegetables instead of buying them from the store. So here's my question to everybody. Is Elon being hyper optimistic right now by taking this approach that working will be optional implying that, jobs will be a thing of the past, then there will be so much abundance that people will be able to make money outside of needing to work? Or does he have no idea what he's talking about here? And is he just saying this to say this? And the reason I think it's also interesting is because we're getting into Tesla earnings, right? And so the way Tesla really moves on earnings is usually during the call, not during the results, when Elon talks about the future of Tesla and the future of what they're going to be doing with AI. And I think there's a world where, again, maybe Optimus is what he paints as the thing that people really need to care about. And if you can paint Optimus as that kind of core argument that more and more people should be looking at in the context of Tesla, especially because of how much it's going to replace jobs, that's what gets the street excited. There's a 6% implied move on Tesla. So you're either looking at the low 400s or the 480s based on if we go green or red. We need Elon to talk about Beyond Meat for the real boost. Yeah, you mentioned Beyond Meat. We're going much higher. I don't know if we're going to replace all jobs with AI. Now, granted, Elon knows more about AI than myself, but if we do replace old jobs with AI, especially blue collar jobs like physical labor, I think there's a lot more questions than answers in terms of what happens for society. That could be something that ends up playing out. Did you see Optimus talking via Grok? Yes, they are implementing Grok not only into Teslas, but into Optimus as well. I think it makes sense. I mean, they're training this large language model. It should have more use cases in the physical world. It's just, it feels like Optimus is far away, just like every robot is far away from actually being operational, which is the broader issue. Falling Knife, thank you for the $200 super chat. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you being part of the channel. And thank you again for the super chat. And thank you for being part of the show. Do you see UBI in the next decade? I mean, I feel like to some extent, the government's going to have to either subsidize the lack of jobs in a form of a UBI, or they're going to have to tax the crap out of these robot companies because they're going to have margins that are just so juicy that they're going to need a way to pay for a lot of this lack of work that's going to be taking place. But I don't know. It's a very complicated situation. And I think one of the things that we're going to be living through over the next 10 years is figuring out how work ultimately takes place. Here's Jameson Greer, our China trade representative, and here's what he had to say this morning about some updates on what's happening with China.
Really difficult issues that have come up due to some new Chinese measures on rare earths.
Can you be with the an aggressive
country to another, right? Even if China is not one of the parties in the agreement. So in Geneva, we had an agreement where they would limit their rare earth export controls, they'd keep their retaliatory tariffs down, and we would suspend a good portion of our tariffs on the reciprocal tariff. And so we've kept our part, we kept that tariff low, and we had very cordial and constructive discussions over the summer. And then again, a couple of weeks ago, the Chinese decided they were just going to go ahead and expand those controls on rare earths again, not on just us, but on the whole world. And now you hear a lot of narratives from the Chinese side of their surrogates saying, well, the Americans have put a lot of controls on us over the past few years, or they put out a new rule that would, to avoid evasion of U.S. export controls that they didn't like, or their fees on ships. So they're trying out a lot of different narratives when the reality is they just want to exert economic control on the world. They started in April with the rare earth magnets. They're using anything else that has happened as a pretext. The reality is we made a promise in May to keep our reciprocal tariff on them at 10%. We kept that promise, and they have not kept theirs.
The president also over the weekend allayed some fears that this is, going back in time and things have happened since then. But he said
in non-sensitive goods and where we have a constructive relationship, and we probably have to actively manage that trading relationship. The trading relationship over the past 20 years with them has very much been China has broad and wide access to the U.S. market, and the U.S. has had quite limited access to the Chinese market. Of course they like that deal. They like that setup. We can't live that way anymore. So we need an alternative path. The question is, do the Chinese accept this? Do the Chinese want to do it? The U.S. has always been quite open to the Chinese, and it's really been driven by Chinese policies that exclude U.S. companies and drive overcapacity and overproduction in China. None of that works for the United States.
So look, this South Korea meeting that's going to be happening around November 1st, I mean, it's either going to result in some level of negotiations or not. If we don't get a deal or any resemblance of a deal by then, I mean, look, I think earnings is the only bull argument along with rate cuts. The market was really looking for some level of a trade deal between the U.S. and China. If we don't get it after this Korea meetup, then I don't know. I don't know how this is going to play out. Now, Bloomberg is reporting that India is getting close to a deal with the United States. The U.S. and India are close to finalizing a long-stalled trade agreement that would cut U.S. tariffs on Indian exports to 15% from 50%. As a part of the deal, India may reduce Russian oil imports, which is kind of what Trump was talking about last week, that Modi said he would stop buying Russian oil, and open access for U.S. corn and soy meal. Potentially India buying our soybeans instead of China. The announcement could come when President Trump and PM Modi meet at the summit in Malaysia on October 26th. So if we get an India deal that is meaningful enough to reduce our tariffs on them and also get them to buy more of our stuff, which is basically what Trump has been asking for the past couple of months now, that would be bullish. If we can follow that up with a China deal, that would be bullish. And if Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta crush earnings, that would be bullish. And then obviously if the Fed cuts, that would be bullish. I think those are the four. And then if all these momentum stocks kind of don't go back to all-time highs and, some of the momentum dies out and that money, that liquidity ends up coming into the names that have earnings, that would be bullish. I think you've got 5 different catalysts that could be happening over the next 2 weeks that could really set up for that 7,000 that we're looking for on the S&P. I think the way to get there is you need the China deal, you need the India deal, you need momentum to go to the direction of the AMDs and Apples and NVIDIAs of the world versus a lot of the more speculative names. You need good earnings growth, and then you need a little bit more geopolitical stability along with rate cuts. If we get those catalysts, we're probably going to see a higher S&P 500, close to 7,000. But we need to get there. And I think that's what we got to look out for over the next coming weeks. Robinhood getting a bit of a green candle right here. We got about a minute until the market's open. Look at that. A lot of stuff going green. Palantir going green. Tesla going green. Google, tons of different names. Got about 30 seconds until this market opens. So it looks like you got some traders coming in. I guess Beyond Meat is one of the things that we'll be looking at today. It was at 750. It's at 619. It's getting sold off a bit before the open. We are going to see how this one opens up and what we are going to get today. VRT also, great earnings today as well. That's why that stock is up 7%. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It is Wednesday, October 22nd. We are going to see how this market turns out for the day. 9:30 a.m. The stock market is once again open. All right, wake your ass up. Let's get into it and see what we've got going on. Beyond Meat still up 70%, down a decent chunk from the pre-market, as you can see on those red candles, but it is still green from where it closed yesterday. That went up now 68% of the day. SoFi, that's down 0.5%. SoFi's got earnings next week. AMD, that's down 0.3. S&P 500, 671. NVIDIA, that goes red on the day. Tesla, 443, that's down 0.27%. They've got earnings coming up. Robinhood, basically flat, 130.160. Palantir, 181.64. Also flat. Amazon down 1.3, Meta down 0.11, Salesforce down 1%, PayPal down 1%, Elf down 0.21, Apple down 0.48 on the day. How about Nebius? Nebius 106. Look at that. Nice little green move from 103 to 106. Yesterday it touched 102 at one point. So Nebius getting a bit of a move right there. How about CoreWeave? That stock 124, also getting a green candle, but still red on the day. Dell's just flat right now. Rocket Lab 63.49. Rocket Lab's companion AST definitely taking it on the chin. That one's down 8%. It was down another 9% yesterday. So we're talking about a 20% downturn in 2 days for ASTS, but that one getting hit. Duolingo, that's up 1%. TFC's up 0.5%. IREN holding on to the 50s. If it loses 50, it could get ugly, but it's not really losing 50 yet. It did get to 52. That's down 1.17% right now in the market open. Cisco right there, that's up a little bit. Walmart, that's up just a bit. Palantir, 0.16%. Google, 1.3. So Google was at 257 off that Anthropic deal. Didn't really hold on to its momentum. That one continues now to hold the 250s, but still green on the day. Oklo getting a little bit of a bounce from 132 to 135. So you've got some dip buyers coming in, showing some of that momentum potentially is coming back. How about the quantum stocks? D-Wave, yeah, a little bit of a bounce, 30 to 30.9. About $1 bounce. Nothing massive, but somewhat of a move right there to the upside. BMNR 50.87. That one's flat as Ethereum continues to be flat. AppLovin did get initiated with a price target today of 705 from Oppenheimer. So AppLovin right there, 564. That's up 2.19%. Microsoft, that's up 0.5%. MicroStrategy down another 3%. That one continuing to get hit. VRT goes red. That's weird. BRT had a great earnings. They beat by 25%. Not sure why that's going red. That one losing all of its steam as soon as the market opens. So I guess people end up taking some profits right there. Beyond Meat goes below $6. Again, it was at $8 at one point in the pre-market. Now it's at $5.80, still up 60%. But some of that momentum for the pre-market is also going down. Poet, that's up 6% of the day. Looks like they had some announcement here that's getting it some love. Poet right there up 7.71%. Grabby Grab, what do we got? Below 550. I mean, again, I really can't explain fundamentally why that's happening. I put out a post on Twitter yesterday. I put out a bunch of different thoughts on it. I mean, my argument is that the shorts at this point are in control and they're manipulating it. But that's, that's the most I can chalk it up to. And I know people don't love that reason, but I don't really have another fundamental reason to make that argument. So I think Q3 earnings is when you get the re-rating. These are kind of the dog days of investing in a stock. You either believe or you don't, and you got to go through some of these headwinds. Now, we got to see if it closes below 550 because 550 is good support. So if it actually gets a close below 550 today, that wouldn't be the best in terms of its price action. But I think Q3, they have a pretty damn good quarter. And so ultimately Q3 is going to decide the trajectory of this name. SoFi right here, 28.39. SoFi got to 29.50 yesterday. I actually agree with Jason right here. SoFi staying below 29 going into earnings is really bullish because you probably have an upside move to 35 if they crush it. If it gets to 34, 35 before earnings, which is possible given SoFi has moved before earnings many times, it would potentially set up a disappointment where there's just not more room to move higher. So I do think if it kind of just chills in this range, that could kind of be the way the situation plays out. But we've got to see how this ends up happening. Galaxy is down 8% right there. Okay, Galaxy is down. Pull Quantum, Oklo, or Beyond Meat. That's a good pull. That's definitely a good pull for what we see. Beyond Meat, is that halted? Beyond Meat, yeah, it's halted. Okay, Beyond is not. Okay, Legend's being weird. Beyond's not opening on Legend. Let me go to Webull. Did Beyond break Legend, bro? Goodness gracious. Yeah, it's halted. I think it's halted. Did Beyond really break Legend, bro? It's not even loading on the freaking. I think it's halted. 539. Still up 50%. Still up 50%. But it is now halted. Amazon 218.92. Mattel also had earnings yesterday. Mattel right there, that's down 7.9%. They had a little bit less of a good picture on guidance. Mattel right there, that's down about 7.8% of the day. Hims losing 48.50 or losing 50, and now it's back at 48.50, down about 1.85%. Wow, Bitcoin losing 108. All right, so we're seeing some actual red across the board. Intuitive Surgical, they had a great earnings. They deserve it. They're up 17%. I don't know if they had an earnings that was enough to go up 17%, but they definitely had a good earnings. Street's really giving them a premium right here. That one's getting some love. Ondas Drone Company, that's down 4%. Wow, Oklo loses 130. Guys, everything's sliding right here. Everything sliding. S&P goes red. Mattel down. Google still holding on to a little bit. Nvidia goes red. Gold still red on the day. Nebius was just at 108, back down to 103. Oracle down 0.2. Is there a headline? Is there a headline? I don't know if there's a headline or it's just algos. Tesla going red. Let me see if there's any headline. That was quick, right? That was that kind of paused Legend as well. So you had a lot of volume potentially just come in. United is kind of green. United Airlines. AMD, that's flat. Morgan Stanley goes red. Bank of America goes red. All the banks are red. What about Meta? Meta is back down. Grab still holding 550, trying to 552. Did Trump tweet? Let me see. I don't think he did. No, he didn't tweet. This might be more algos. This might be way more algos. I don't see anything fundamental here, but everything kind of just got hit, including those high momentum names. Ondas down 4, ASTS down 8, Nebius down 1. Zion's down a little bit. Navitas, this thing was at $20 at one point, now down 6%, took a 10% beating yesterday. Uber, that's down 1%. Then SoFi, 28.21. The more high momentum names, even like a Rocket Lab, very high beta, those are getting hit the worst, down 4%. Bitmine right there, below 50. Bitmine below 50 is what we've got. VIX is up a bit. That's correct. The VIX is moving just a little bit right here. Where's the price of gold? Gold is... $50 away still of losing 4,000. VIX is up 2%, so VIX doesn't have a massive spike, but it does have a spike. Bitcoin losing 108 was weird, given it already lost 114 intraday yesterday. Bitcoin just back above 108 barely. BM&R still getting hit. Beyond Meat is still halted. That is correct. 539 is the halt, and that's why it's stuck there. Google is still green. Microsoft is still green. Would you buy Figma here? Figma 54. So Figma lost its pump that it got from OpenAI 2 weeks ago when they partnered with ChatGPT. I don't know enough about Figma's valuation to be super excited for it here. I would want to wait for another quarter. I mean, they've only been a public company for less than 90 days. So I would really like to see multiple quarters in a row of growth. The Figma story itself is just not the most exciting. Now, Canva, that's a very exciting story for me. I think they're way more broad-based consumer than Figma. Figma has like 13 million businesses. Canva has 220 million monthly active users. So if I'm betting on like AI design, Figma's a phenomenal company. It's not the most exciting TAM versus some of the other consumer names that are out there. But I would also just want to see another quarter of growth. They've only had one quarter. I'd want to see 2 quarters of execution. Hims right there, 48. Wow, 47.90, losing 48. This one's been tough. Oklo, 9% down. 9% down. I don't see the headline yet. I don't see it. Now, granted, the S&P is not really, the S&P is barely down, so it's not a headline that should be affecting the broader market. You did have that little move when S&P touched 670 where everything took a drawdown. You're getting a bit of a V-shape across the board. Even on Amazon, you're getting that V-shape. Same thing with Google. But those other momentum names are not getting that V-shape. Oklo down 10. How about Quantum? QBTS, D-Wave. Wow, loses 30. Down 8%. Down 8%. How about IONQ? That's down another 3%. IONQ was almost $70 last week. And Rigetti down another 5%. Rigetti, if I'm not wrong, was $58, 58 to 37. Beyond Meat is back. Okay, Beyond Meat goes up from 539. There's the green candle. Touched 511 at one point. You got dip buyers coming in. Netflix still down 8%. Again, Netflix didn't have bad earnings, but they missed on EPS, so the street's going to take it down. That's just what happens when you're that big of a company, but not necessarily emblematic of the whole market having some issues. Beyond Meat trying to get back to $6, 560 right there. Fell all the way to 530. Oklo and Hood probably are getting hit based on Bitcoin. Coinbase and Hood. Coinbase 327, that's down 3%. And then Hoodie 128.70, that's down 2.3. So Bitcoin definitely affecting Coinbase and Hood right here, probably affecting MicroStrategy at 280, Microsoft at MicroStrategy at 295. MicroStrategy actually getting a little bit of a bounce from 292. Tesla goes green, Meta goes green. Some of the Max 7 are going green, but a lot of these other names are still taking a hit. Gold, are we moving higher? Okay, gold got a little bounce. It bottomed so far at 4,050. Now it's at 4,080. So you're seeing a little bounce on gold. $34 billion. There's your green candle on gold from 372 to 375 on the GLD ETF. $34 billion have entered into gold ETFs over the past 10 weeks. So $3.4 billion every week for the past 10 weeks have entered into these ETFs. There's a lot of money that continues to bet on gold, even if it had a $2 trillion downfall over the past couple of days. Amit, are you buying Hood at 128? No, but if you have no position, I don't think it's a horrible entry. Again, for me, it's already a big position, so it's really got to give me a juicy price to get excited. And again, if Bitcoin doesn't get any momentum, Hood's probably going a bit lower, right? It's just the honest truth, especially if Bitcoin falls below 100. Now, I don't think that could happen, but then again, who would have thought Bitcoin would be barely above 105 in October when it's supposed to be the best month of the year for Bitcoin? So if you have no exposure, 128 is a way better price than 150. But if you have exposure, I feel like you got to wait till the market gives you something juicier. NVIDIA right there going green, 181.30. That's green as well. As Beyond Meat halted again. Beyond Meat is halted again at 611. Halted again at 611. This time to the upside. Halted this time to the upside. Iran also getting a bit of a rebound, which is nice to see. Iran right there, 55.60. So that's up as well. And Iran actually going green. Iran actually going green. Jet, thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate it. Jet Jones, thank you for being here. Thank you for becoming a channel member. How about Lemonade and Oscar? Oscar had a great day yesterday. Lemonade down 2%. Oscar with their new AI assistant down 3%. It was up 7% yesterday. A lot of these names not really holding on to their juice. Oklo still down. 124.86 is the intraday low for Oklo. If it breaks that, then it potentially could lose those levels. 125. Again, Oklo was 190 last week. D-Wave 29.95. This was at 42. S&P still basically flat. So a lot of the red that we're seeing not affecting the S&P, and NVIDIA still holding on to be green. How about Plug Power? That stock right there, 293. That's down 6%. That had a pretty big move as well. Nebius, wow, 101. That was weird, right? Nebius was at 107 like 5 minutes ago. That one, I think it's getting bucketed into the data center companies. And when the data center stocks go down, even though NVIDIA's not down, your Nebius, your CoreWeaves go red. CoreWeave, 121, down 2.5. Cypher, how about the other Bitcoin miners? CleanSpark did get hit a while ago. Cypher is down 3. CleanSpark's down 3. TeraWolf is flat. So those aren't getting hit as bad as they were before. BMR down 6%. No, down 3. It was down 6, so it got a little recovery. 50.32. Still down 3%. Yeah, Nebius and Uber did announce something today with AV Ride, which is a company in the autonomous driving space. So that was a positive headline for Nebius today. Not enough to get the stock to really go higher. Uber and Nebius are committing as much as $375 million to develop their self-driving vehicle subsidiary AV Ride. Bloomberg says the new funding will help accelerate the growth of AV Ride's driverless fleet and support AV Ride's product development and expansion into new geographies. So Uber and Nebius both investing into a autonomous self-driving startup. Street doesn't care too much about it based on what we're seeing. Yeah, big deal for APLD as well. $5 billion. Not enough to get the stock to really make a move. Now, granted, APLD has had a big move over the past couple of months, but still that one's flat. Robinhood trying to get back to 130. Ethereum still stuck at 3,800. Nursis right here. We talked about that last week on the Equity Edge podcast. We're going to be talking about a new stock today, GXO. They're a logistics company. So that'll be at 12:30 on Twitter for those that are interested in the audio version of that. We'll be talking about that. AMD right there at 238. AMD goes green. How about Amcor? Amcor holding on to 3187. Amcor not giving up the 30s, which is good to see. MP down another 3%. These rare earth stocks continue to get rid of some of their momentum. Beyond Meat still halted at 611. Still halted at 611. Matt, thanks for the super chat. He said, I bought D-Wave at 386 in January. I was trying to make it to long-term gains. Should I just dump it? It's a good question because you have a couple months left, right, for it to be long-term gains. I don't know, dude. It's hard, right? Because what if by the time you get to your long-term gains, January in 2026, what if this thing doesn't really give you any more gains because it just gets obliterated? Or what if this thing goes back to 50, and this is just a moment of some weakness, but it's not a structural problem? I don't know. It really depends on how convicted you are. It's just that simple. It depends on how convicted you are on this name. And they do have an earnings coming up. So maybe if there's anything positive in that earnings, that keeps the stock at least at this level, even if it doesn't tank. But I think it depends on how much you really believe that they can actually hold on to these levels. Again, a lot of these momentum names that have taken a beating, the bright side of them taking a beating is that they've already taken the beating. If they take another beating, then it's just a bloodbath. But does that have to happen after they're already down 30 to 40%? Not really, right? They already got beat up pretty badly. Maybe this is where they bottom out. But I think you're going to need to see a little bit more data to see if that's the case. S&P goes green. S&P goes green. All right, Beyond Meat unhalted goes down from 611 down to 605. You got your red candle. Did get to 639 for a second. Now back at 615. Now back at 615. Is anyone trading this? Now back at 590. Put in the chat. Are you trading this at all? Beyond Meat? Is anyone like buying? Have you been in Beyond Meat already? I mean, it's obviously getting a ton of retail momentum. Volume is 630 million shares, bro. This thing is going to trade 1 billion shares before lunchtime. It's going to trade 1 billion before lunchtime. Fubu also getting hit right here. Fubu down 4%. Nebius, a little bit of a bounce to 103, and then Bitmine at 50.20. I'm beyond scared. I mean, I'm not scared of it. I just think it's like people are bored, bro. People are bored. Unless this becomes GameStop 2.0 and they really want to, tell Ken Griffin how horrible he is, like either people get tired of it. I mean, these names really need momentum. You need like an Eric Jackson to get a lot of people excited constantly, Does it have that sort of open door type of army? I don't know. And if it doesn't, then maybe the hype dies out. Open door, by the way, loses 644. This is the lowest open door has been in about a month and a half. So this one, if you bought in at $10, $9, $8, it has been taking a hit. Open door down 7% on the day. Beyond Meat now back to 630. Back to 630 on this one. Did you talk about fun? There's a ticker symbol fun. Oh, Six Flags. Yeah. This one made a move yesterday, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, it's up 25% of the past days. What was the headline on Six Flags? Does anyone know the headlines on this one? I saw it for a little bit, but I didn't see the big move. It's still down 40% for the year. Texas Capital raised their price tag to 33. Jana Partners took a 9% stake as a potential catalyst. Okay, it looks like maybe there's... Oh, the Travis Kelce. Yeah, Travis Kelce teams up with investor for activist campaign at Six Flags. That was the headline. Again, I don't even know how to make sense of some of those. Beyond Me right there, 626. But Travis Kelce is investing in Six Flags. Okay. I guess that's what we got going on. I mean, dude, if Taylor Swift does anything for Six Flags, that stock could actually really get a move. Corey right there down 1.7, Lemonade down 1.3, IBKR actually green. And that one holding on some of its momentum. Iran as well going back to green. Let me see if we have any macro data today. It is Wednesday. I think we got something. Do we have mortgage rates today? We might have mortgage rates. Mortgage rates, yeah, we got them 6.37. Wow, lowest in a couple of months. 6.37 versus 6.42. 6.37 versus 6.42. So you've got interest rates, or at least mortgage rates, that have come down, which is nice to see. Hive, that's down about 3.4%. D-Wave still down 4%. Open Door now down 8% on the day. A lot of wind coming out of that stock. Bitmine at 50.18. And then Hoodie at 129. Krispy Kreme is being squeezed. Holy crap. Krispy Kreme is being squeezed. Dude, when did this happen? When did Krispy Kreme go up 32%? We were so busy with Beyond Meat, we didn't even see. This was happening back in July. This was happening back in July, 31.5% on Krispy Kreme. The short float on this one is 30% still. As of September 30th, it's still 30%. So why are people, I think they're just putting it in the bucket with Beyond Meat. Beyond Meat now, they're 65%. But Beyond Meat actually had a catalyst. Krispy Kreme doesn't, I don't think they have a catalyst. Retail Gang is getting way bored. Yeah, I feel like that's it. Dude, this is I don't know. I think this is kind of dumb. Krispy Kreme and Beyond Meat up 40, 50% on the day. That's... Now, granted, I do think if you're seeing the wind get knocked out of a lot of these other momentum names and people want to play around with these two stocks, that's fine. It would be a different story if all of these names were just running 10, 20% on the day. That's just not happening. You're seeing a lot more weakness in these names. And I guess maybe it's isolated to two names that have very high short floats that, people potentially want to gamble on. But that is what you're seeing. 668 million traded on Beyond Meat. Krispy Kreme as well, 70 million shares. The average volume is 7 million. So that's a 10x increase. And then on Beyond Meat, it's going to head to $1 billion pretty soon in terms of volume. 606, it's kind of stuck at that $6 level. You're not really getting the bull side or the bear side to play in. So I guess we're going to see if that one continues or not. Galaxy, again, they had a great earnings wow, down 9%. All the Bitcoin miners, even if you put up good results, this is not encouraging for the entire sector, because Galaxy put up they beat earnings by 200% and the stock is still down 9%. Which begs the question, if Iran puts up really good earnings, is there just too much baked into the stock where the market's not going to care? And Galaxy, even with this drawdown, is up 120% year to date. So again, you can't say fundamentally that they're not getting a premium, because they're definitely getting a premium. So I think a lot of these Bitcoin miners / data center companies, they're going to have to put up good earnings, but they're going to have to justify increased growth trajectories because they're already up so much that a lot of it potentially could be baked in. Same thing for Hood, by the way. Hood's up a lot, so they're going to have to put up a really good earnings to say they deserve even more of a premium, because a lot of that growth you could argue is baked in. Same thing for Palantir. Again, they're going to have to put up just earnings that are so undeniable that the street has no option but to go higher. And Netflix did not do that yesterday. A lot was baked into Netflix, and they missed on EPS, and that's why they're lower. Google, I think, is in the same situation. Google from 150 to 250, one could argue that the street has decided to give it a premium. They're going to have to put up a great quarter to see that continue to grow. GoPro's up 18%. Dude, what is going on? GoPro, Krispy Kreme, and Beyond Meat. It feels like May of 2024. When GameStop, how is GameStop not doing anything? Which GameStop actually had a good quarter. They actually had a pretty good quarter 3 months ago. They put up some decent results, especially in the new trading card business that they're getting into. Like, they're not back to a growth stock, but they are growing. But the OG meme stock is just like not getting any love. Not getting it. Check Flowers, FLWR. Is that the ticker symbol? Flowers, 1-800-Flowers. Is that the one? Oh my goodness, that's up 17%. All right, it is a meme rally. It is a meme rally across the board. The highest quality companies in the market: 1-800-Flowers, GoPro, Krispy Kreme, and Beyond Meat. Incredible. At the same time, Nvidia getting some love. Okay, 183. There's a big green candle right there. We'll see if it's backed up by anything important. But Nvidia going green. The meme stock ETF, that is up 2% on the day. And Nvidia holding on to some of that love. The Wall Street bet army is back. Yeah, I would guess they are back. It's weird, bro. It's the end of the year, though. Like, the fact that people are gambling this much towards the end of the year, like, it's almost like people that want to catch up to performance instead of taking a shot on Google or Amazon. They're like, nope, we are going to guarantee that we have a great year by squeezing the crap out of these companies: GoPro, Beyond Meat, and Krispy Kreme. I don't know. I guess that's what you got going on. Nvidia, though, getting some love right there, 183. Amazon was down yesterday. Amazon's still down about 1.3. Amazon's still getting hit. Hoodie trying to get back to 130. Where's ASTS? 71. ASTS down 9%. Is this a buy the dip for those that love ASTS? It went from 36 to 102, back down to 71. It's almost like that run to 100 was nonsense. That's what the chart is saying. The chart is saying that they had no business getting up there, for it to go down that quickly, for it to touch 100 and then lose 25% that quick. But then the question becomes, does it even deserve to be at 70? Like, if it touched 100 and didn't deserve to be there, as per how the market's reacting to it, like, does it deserve to be at 70? And I feel like it gets harder sometimes to jump in easily and buy that dip. Corey right there, down 2% as well. Chris holds ASTS. Last time I talked to him, he still holds his ASTS. I think he has options on it, but his options are still deep in the money. I think he had like a $50 strike. So even with the drawdown, he's still pretty deep in the money. Big Bear AI, how about this one? Wrecked again, 695. Bounced a little bit off 670, 671. but this stock from $9-10 continues to get hit. BlackBerry is not a meme stock. I agree. BlackBerry getting a 7% move right there. BlackBerry actually has a really good fundamental thesis. The cash relative to their market cap, very attractive. I've not done a super big deep dive into BlackBerry, but a couple smart people I know do have some bags of this one, and they do believe in the long-term thesis on it. Not the best growth stock, but definitely a more compelling argument. For those that don't know BlackBerry, it's not just the phone company anymore. I mean, they transitioned into cybersecurity and software for cars, all this stuff a while ago. But that stock getting a bit of a move, up 7%. Now, that might be moving if it's in the bucket of the meme stock category, because it was at one point seen as a meme stock. And maybe that's why it's getting a 7% move, and the algos are just taking it higher. But there is something more fundamental there. Beyond Meat, 58%, 571. Krispy Kreme, 23%. Are we moving on GameStop? GameStop, there you go. Look at that. The OGs are back. A little 1% candle right there on GameStop. Oh, I think we have the NVIDIA headline. I think we have it. Let me make sure to confirm right here. Yeah, Dominican Republic signed agreement with NVIDIA. Wow. These guys got a whole... that's not just a regular company, bro. I mean, that's not a company at all. That is a freaking country in the Caribbean to work with NVIDIA. A whole freaking country. All right, so this is probably a data center deal that NVIDIA got with the Dominican Republic. We don't have full details on it yet, but that is why you got the spike. And, you know, NVIDIA's done this with a lot of other countries, so it makes sense for them to partner with other countries. Sovereign AI, yeah. Sovereign AI. Let me check. Population of Dominican Republic. Population of Dominican. 11 million. Relatively small country. And it looks like some data centers are going to be coming to the Dominican Republic. NBIS, let's see if that's moving back higher. 102, right back down. 107, down to 102. NVIDIA supplying chips for meme stocks. Exactly. That's it. That's all NVIDIA has to say today. We are supplying chips for Beyond Meat and Krispy Kreme. And that'll take it higher. Open Door still down 7%. D-Wave still down 5%. Applied Digital barely up 2%. And then BitMine still down 2%. Can we talk about the BM&R short position? So we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. If you're talking about Carousel Capital, that short BitMine. I don't think their thesis is that good. Their argument is just BitMine will lose its premium to NAV. And, you know, like if you believe that they will lose their premium to NAV, then yes, you should go short BitMine, because then this thing is going to collapse. If you believe Ethereum will continue to stay strong and BitMine will trade at a premium to NAV, then you have the opposite opinion. I'm in the latter camp. I think there's too much baked into how we understand the overall BitMine thesis. And again, I did a really big deep dive on this on Substack, wrote a long article about it. But there's a lot of components to why they're getting a premium to NAV and why the other ETH treasuries and Bitcoin treasuries, any crypto treasury, is not getting that premium. And so Carousel has been right on their short so far from like 55 to 50 because ETH has been stuck. If ETH were, you know, to get closer to 4,500, 5,000, I mean, the short just wouldn't make that much sense. I think BitMine would be well above these levels. So it's a question of if you believe in Ethereum more than anything versus like the MNAV, but you know, that is always the risk with any digital asset treasury. NAV is net asset value. NAV is how much money the company actually is worth on their balance sheet, how much, you know, assets they own relative to their debt. And then the premium is essentially, think of it like a PE, right? Like Microsoft has XYZ earnings. You're paying 27 times for those earnings because you believe that it's worth 27 times. BitMine, MicroStrategy, they trade at like 1.4, 1.5 times because you believe they deserve to be trading at a premium. And the reason for that premium is what Carousel disagrees with. But nonetheless, it's what the longs agree with if you are long any of those names. Oklo loses the intraday low, folks. 124, 123. 123 on Oklo. The stock was 148 yesterday. The stock was 148 yesterday. It was 195 on Wednesday. You're talking about, I mean, and look, here's the thing. Again, does it get back to 193 and easily? And if it doesn't, it has created a lot of bag holders Forget 193. Let's talk about 150. Let's get back to 150. If it doesn't, it's created hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of bag holders. Same thing with Rigetti when it was trading at 50 last week. Does this easily get back to 50? Is this a one-time, little breather? Is this like, Amazon was at 223 yesterday. Amazon's at 219. Does Amazon get back to 223? Yeah, I think so. Amazon was at 240 in January. Does it get back to 240 one day? Yeah, I think over time it does. Do some of these stocks ever revisit their all-time highs? And if they don't, and people know that they won't, are they just going to sell and carry on the onslaught because they want to just get out of it and take their loss? I think that is the structural question that could be scary for a lot of these names. Iran continuing to get a little bit of move. That's up 2.3%. Beyond Meat, is that going to create bag holders as we speak at 582? I mean, if you bought it at 885 in the pre-markets, does it ever even get back to 885, right? Like, is there enough juice to get it? Like, these are hard decisions, dude, because once a stock loses that momentum and it's gone, it might, I mean, GameStop has never got back up into the hundreds after it fell in 2021. And I think that could be the scary part about some of the stuff. Were people actually buying Oklo at 190? Yeah. I mean, whether it was an institution or retail, Oklo now loses 123. My goodness, 122. If you just look at the chart right here, someone was buying it at $193.84, which means someone was buying it at 170, at 180, at 192, at 191, at 157, at 164, at 175. Like, someone was buying it at those levels. And I don't know if it was, the most important institutional investors on the planet. And that's the hard part here. Eli Lilly, that's up 1%. All right, that's getting some love. Hims, I don't understand why Hims is getting hit like this. I really don't. 40% short. Even Jason yesterday, he had no idea, like, why. Like, why is, what do you guys think? Why are people shorting it? Why do they hate Hims so much? I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, this is a quality. I mean, there's so many names to short over Hims, but the shorts hate it. Down 3%. Got 65 last week, and now it's losing the 50s at these levels. Okay, we have some update on the Dominican Republic stuff. So the Dominican Republic signed a strategic AI alliance with NVIDIA to establish the region's first center of excellence in artificial intelligence, part of its national AI strategy. The initiative, signed by President Abinader, will train 1,000 professionals by 2026 through NVIDIA's Deep Learning Institute, developing national AI factory to ensure data sovereignty and drive AI adoption across healthcare, education, mobility, public safety, tourism, and finance. The Ministry of AI said the partnership supports the country's national semiconductor strategy and broader digital transformation goals. Okay, cool. So NVIDIA having a full sovereign AI partnership, up 1% of the day with the Dominican Republic. There you go. That's not how you pronounce his name. You guys know by now that there was no way in hell I was going to pronounce his name correctly. There was no way in hell. Amit, how much are you down today? Let's check. Let's pull it up. How much are we down? 50,347. Okay, that's not too bad. I was up like 120 yesterday. So I had a bit of recovery yesterday from Friday, down 50 today, but not too bad overall. S&P basically flat right here at 671, not moving up or down. Beyond Meat, are we still moving here? Beyond Meat, 578, trying to get back to 6. Oklo just lost 122. Dude, I think the bottom could be falling out. I think the bottom could be falling out, dude. 121. This was 150 yesterday and 190 last week. I mean, I don't know, dude. The bottom might be falling out. ASTS right there down 9%. Big Bear down 2.6. Palantir basically flat. And then D-Wave below 30. D-Wave below 30. Yes, Oklo was $5 in September last year. It was $5 in September. So, I mean, it's still up a lot. It's just, again, 5 to 130. Does it deserve 130? 5 to 190? Like these are the questions, right? Can it hold these levels even after it's made this big of a move? S&P just goes green, 671.41. Oh, we got an update on Robinhood Strategies. Robinhood Strategies is serving over 1 billion of client assets. Wow. Not bad. I think Vlad just tweeted that. Or Robinhood just tweeting that. Robinhood 1 billion. This was 500 million last month. Dude, see, this is why when people say, well, isn't Robinhood like a meme stock? It's like, no. Oklo doesn't have 1 billion of client assets across 180,000 funded accounts. Neither do any of these quantum names. They don't have anything. So you can disagree with the multiple on a hood. That's totally fine. You can disagree with the multiple on a Palantir. You cannot disagree with the actual growth that they're showing in terms of the real company fundamentals. Some of these other names, they just don't have anything. They don't have any growth, and that's why the street's probably selling them off right here, along with potentially retail selling them off. Beyond Meat, back to 623. Back to 623. Oh, Stephanie tweeted it. Okay, cool. Steph is one of the Robinhood. She's running. I have like $1,000 inside of the strategies. I haven't really put a ton of money into it, but I mean, it's done really well, and it's been able to, manage the money correctly. 1 billion right there. So he's basically managing a $1 billion fund across retail investors, and they're allocating it in a bunch of different things. But this was 250 million back in April. So you're talking about a 4x increase in less than 5 months or less than 8 months, which is pretty incredible. Lily 804, Hims 47.85. That one continuing to get hit. AST might lose 70 right here. 90 cents away. Low of days 9.8%. Palantir's flat. Amcor down 1.3. Galaxy down 10.5. Galaxy down 10.5. Nick says, I love Hood, but I have considered utilizing 2 brokerages after all the issues they have had. Yeah, that's fair, dude. I mean, look, at the end of the day, if they can't stay on when things happen in terms of market volatility, I think it's worth people exploring another brokerage. I think that's fair. If you can't trade in the moments where you need to trade, maybe it's worth having a backup. So I kind of personally just like having all my assets in one place. That's why, I wouldn't be leaving. I also don't even think I would know how to operate Schwab. Like, I was actually talking to someone yesterday who was like, I got pissed off at Hood during GameStop. I went to Schwab because I was so mad about what they did. And then 6 months later, I got so pissed off at Schwab because it sucked that I went back to Hood, even though I was still pissed off at Hood. So I just know that I wouldn't be able to function a different app in an effective way. But it's not crazy for, people to have 2 apps. Netflix, though, 8% on the day, losing $100. Netflix wiping up basically about $80 billion of market cap right here on the day. So this one definitely getting hit after those earnings. Grab at 557. That's flat. And then Bitcoin right here at 108. SoFi is the solution. Maybe, dude. Maybe. Again, I've used SoFi's Invest product. I really don't like it. I don't know, dude. I don't like the user experience on it. Some people do. That's fine. But it's very hard for me to take it seriously whenever I actually open it and use it. But they are introducing level 1 options and crypto, which will be bullish. SoFi right here, though, I did want to take a little bit of an earnings gamble. I wanted 26.50. Maybe it loses 28 right here, 2 cents away. There you go. It just lost 28. Let's see if we can get low 27s. And if that one ends up playing out. ASTS, 70.37. That's down 10.3%. Beyond Meat still moving. 673 got halted. Wow. Dude, they halt it every time and makes a big move. They're not letting retail win. They're not letting retail win. Let's see if it opens higher to the upside or if it gets halted to the downside. But you do have some green right there. Mike Johnson is live again. Dude, this guy goes live every day to talk about the government shutdown. And he says the same thing every day. Why doesn't he go try to talk with the Democrats versus he's live on CNN and Fox every morning complaining. It's like, bro, get a deal done. It's not even worth listening to it. They're going to say, he's going to say the same thing that he says every single morning. They got to get a freaking deal done. Beyond Me right there, 673. That one's still getting hit. Tesla below 440. 439. All right, so that lost a lot of its momentum. Next decade, how about that one? Next decade, 596. Loses 6. Loses $6 here. Delta Air said to plan beta test for AI powered travel assistant later this month. Okay, so Delta incorporating potentially a lot more of an AI initiative. I think United said something similar to this on their earnings. United stock basically flat at 100. I thought United had great earnings, but stock was relatively flat. Nvidia still up on the day, 182.50. Look at the Peloton option flow. Is Peloton next? Is Peloton the next stock to make a move here? This, if Peloton makes a move, it actually does feel like 2021. And again, I'm on the side that this market is fundamentally differentiated from 2021, but just some of these names, like I think Beyond Meat in 2021, that was a big one too, right? Yeah, you do have some option flow on Peloton for the November. What contract is this? November, $8, and then you have October this week, Friday, $8.50. This week, $8.50, expiring in a couple days. You got a ton of flow coming out on that one too. $8.50 call for this week. Yeah, that's the one that's getting a ton of momentum. Oh wow, Doug, are you actually out? Doug says, I love D-Wave, but I'm out. It should be 3 to 4 speculatively. I was able to buy below 1 a year ago. A 2 to 3x in a year based on their advance is great, but multi-1,000% gains. Doug, are you actually selling? For those that don't know, Dougie got into D-Wave under $1. Doug, interesting. Looks like the drawdown's making someone a little scared, man. Look, it's inevitable. Everyone gets scared. I'd be scared too. But if you're actually selling, see, this is what I mean. This is not to pick on Doug. I love Doug. He's a good friend of mine. But this is the point. When stocks lose momentum and someone who's up, 30x? If you bought it at $1, it's at 29, you're up 29x. Someone starts to think, wait a second, I'm up 2,900%. Maybe I should take some profits. Maybe I should take some mother effing profits if I'm up 2,900%. And maybe if I don't, and this stock loses momentum and other people have that moment where they're like, oh yeah, I should probably take some profits, and it goes down further, maybe I won't be up 29x anymore. Maybe those gains are going to disappear, right? This is what happens. This is the psychology of retail. Now, Doug might be wrong because D-Wave might be having a little bit of a moment and then it spikes back up to 40. But if he's right and a lot of other people are thinking the same thing he's thinking, you're going to get stocks that just have the bottom fall out, as a lot of people say, I don't want to be along for the ride anymore. And they're passing their bags to someone else. And the question then about the person who's buying Doug's shares from $1 at 29 is, do they know more about the future of quantum computing than Doug? And I don't think Doug's an expert on it, but he's done a pretty good amount of research just based on the private conversations I've had with him over the past year. I don't know. You have to really see, is there enough momentum for people to get excited about the future of it going long term? 670 on the S&P. That one goes red on the day as well. Doug says quantum has just as much as Anduril does going for it. Doug's also a private Anduril investor as well. So, look, that's a fair point. It's a fair point. You might just not have that much excitement to the upside if, a lot of that momentum could be potentially baked in. Krispy Kreme still up 30% on D-Nut. That one's still moving. And then Beyond Meat, is it unhalted? Is it unhalted? 659. It got unhalted, lost about 20 cents from 673, but still there. Dude, this 6-7 stuff. Okay, some of you guys saw it yesterday with me on the market close, but freaking they were talking to a Netflix analyst and they asked the analyst about his thoughts on Netflix, and the dude mentioned, yeah, it's probably down 6-7% because their operating margin is not the best. And the freaking host, bro, it was incredible. I couldn't believe it was happening. I couldn't believe it was happening, what he said. But you know, he called him out on the on the 6-7. You guys saw it, right, in the morning? Let me play that clip right here. It was absolutely hilarious. Couldn't believe it was a thing, but it was a thing.
They actually would have beat earnings handily if you'd adjusted for that.
Okay. So 6-7%, you say. I can't let that go. But
I cannot believe this is real life. I cannot believe the meme has made it to such an extent, but it did. Beyond Meat 650, Netflix still getting hammered. Wow, down 9%. This is one of the worst days Netflix has had in about a year. When's the last time Netflix took a 9% hit? When's the last time? Yeah, South Park covered it as well. When's the last time it took a 9% hit? We got some flow on energy fuels. 30 covered or 30 call, 1121, 2 million came in on that. How's that one doing? That's another energy name that's actually been a bit more legit. Yeah, flat. That one hasn't got hit as hard. Beyond Meat going for 7. She's going for 7. 6.99. She touched it. Let's see. Do the bulls have the momentum to keep it going? Do they have the momentum to keep it going? 685 got rejected right there at 699. Trying to get there. Austin said I sent that clip to my girl. Yeah, dude. Like if you're on part of TikTok culture, to see that come to like mainstream business news is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Doug said, I'm making 6 figures on my quantum. I mean, bro, you deserve it. You bought it at $1 when no one believed in it. Now it's at $29.70. I mean, to make a 6-figure profit, almost 3,000% return in what, less than a year? Doug, I think you bought it in like September, right? It's not even been, yeah, it's been a little bit over a year. I mean, you deserve it. You deserve those profits. 29.68 right there on D-Wave. Tesla right there at 439 as well. There was someone who's in the quantum space, and he posted a tweet yesterday about his like 3,000, 4,000% gain on a bunch of these quantum stocks. And he basically asked the question. He was like, why am I getting so much shit for posting my gains? Because FinTwit, as toxic as it is, people actually really appreciate when someone makes gains, because I think there's a level of like community where people want to see and learn from other people, right? So if you post that you're up $200,000 on SoFi, you're not going to get a ton of hate. You're going to get a lot. You're going to get some jealousy here. You're going to get a lot of people that are supportive because, they want to see other people win. But this quantum guy, he's getting all this shit in the comments, and he just started asking, like, why are people giving me shit? I thought the whole point of FinTwit was to share your gains and share your wins and stuff. And, my response to him, Beyond Meat, by the way, there you go, touched 719, then got hit to 687, but touched 719. My response to him was, first of all, congrats on the win. You deserve it. But how you make your money is a lot more important than how much money you make, especially if you're trying to build a brand, and you're trying to become a fund manager, you're trying to, build a social media brand around finance, all that stuff. And the sad thing about this quantum stuff is people are up thousands of percent and no one respects it. No one respects it. And when I mean no one, I'm being hyperbolic. Obviously, there's a section of the quantum community that obviously respects it, but no one believes it's real. Everyone thinks it's pure BS. And so, my argument to him was like, it's amazing that you have these gains, but if you're going to post it on a public platform and everyone thinks quantum is a joke and these stocks are up 4,000% for no reason, then you're going to get a lot of pushback, because like the way you make your money is also something that needs to be respectable. People respect if you're up on NVIDIA or you're up on Rocket Lab. They don't really respect if you're up on a lot of these other names because they think it's just pure luck. It's not real. And so I think that is kind of the pushback that a lot of people are getting publicly. Now, again, it doesn't take away from the gains. Like if you buy low, sell high, that's the name of the game. But if you're trying to use that as credibility to say you're like this important investor that can find the diamond in the rough, it's like, well, a lot of people just think it's not real in the first place, so they don't give you the credit. And I think that's one of the issues that a lot of the quantum bulls might be struggling with to an extent as well. Granted, you're up 3,000%, who cares, right? But especially if you don't care about building a public brand. NVIDIA right there, 181.68. That one continues to hold on to the green. Applied Digital, that goes red. Applied Digital, that one goes red. BM&R, is that one still down? BM&R, yeah, 49. Wow, loses 50. That one's still down as well. Beyond is giving me FOMO. Is anyone actually getting FOMO on this? I'm not getting a single ounce of FOMO, dude. I'm not getting a single ounce of FOMO. Like, this to me is just whatever. Is anyone actually getting FOMO? Like, are people seeing this and like legit thinking they need to get in? Like, I am not even for a millisecond. There's not an ounce of me that feels FOMO on this. Like, I mean, I don't care if this goes to $10. Like, who cares? Like, this is not worth the risk, in my opinion. Not at all. Maybe if you have some gambling money, whatever, but like, okay, good. The majority of you saying no. Joy says, I got in sub $1, so yes. Well, did you sell after you got in, or are you still holding? If you're still holding, I mean, you know, you're up. It's not the worst thing in the world. Dude, I just think we have 2 months left of the year. I said this yesterday, but Peloton, Krispy Kreme, Peloton now up 3%. Like, Beyond Meat, none of this stuff is worth the risk, dude. In my opinion, it's just not worth the risk. Like, I don't care about it enough to really get that excited about it. Especially when we've seen all these momentum names take 30 to 40% drops in the past week. What if next week Beyond Meat is down 30, 40%? And so is Krispy Kreme and all these other names. Like, what if this is their 15 minutes of fame and then they get hit? Like, yeah, I mean, obviously if you have a stop loss and you're trading it, that's fine. Like, that's a different question. But like, for the people that want to buy it and just ride it to the moon, like, and that kind of FOMO is how they're playing with it. I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily feel that already. Mate, you don't have FOMO because you're rich already? Okay, first of all, I'm not rich. But second of all, I feel like even if you were rich, like, you still have to protect your money, right? Whatever amount of capital you have, you're trying to protect it. It's not about wanting to get rich or not getting rich. It's about not wanting to lose any money, no matter what the portfolio size is. And if you want to get rich, I mean, like, Beyond Meat, I don't know if that's the way to get there. Maybe at $1, you know, but most people don't buy it at the lows before it explodes. Most people buy it at the top thinking they're going to get rich, and then it doesn't end up playing out, right? So I don't know if that's exactly the way you would think about it. Nonetheless, still moving right here, 631 on the day. What other macro news do we have? I don't think we had the mortgage rate stuff come in. Nebius below 100. Are we actually below? I might get a sign, guys. Nebius. Wow. They took it down to 99. They really took. Oh, we got the SEC chair. He's talking about Beyond Meat. He's talking about Beyond Meat. Let's see what he has to say. He's talking about a bunch of things, and I think he's also talking about Beyond Meat. Let's get some of his thoughts. Damn, they really took it below 100.
All the way till 1955. Is put out a proposal and seek comments on this, and so you know, we'll look forward to doing that. But there has been a lot of academic study and other sorts of discussion over the last few decades as to whether or not quarterly earnings encourages a short-term mode of thinking. So let's go see and see what the commentary is. But I think the market is the one to really decide this ultimately, and what investors want, and it may depend on the company and certainly smaller companies. We were looking at this. And
they're really going to get rid of quarterly reports, dude. They're really going to get rid of quarterly reports. Let me get to the part about Beyond Meat, and then we'll get to the other stuff. Okay, right here. Let's see what he has to say here.
Roundhill ETF now. What goes on in your mind or at the SEC when you see crazy moves like this?
Well, you know, the market's going to do what it's going to do, and so people can focus on things that they want to invest in. What we're concerned about is manipulative behavior, and so here, even during the shutdown, as we conduct our surveillance of the marketplace, we have stopped trading on 8 foreign companies on NASDAQ that showed indicia of manipulative behavior, ramp and dump, we call it. And so those have been shut down. So we are monitoring the market for the behavior that indicates, hanky-panky going on in the marketplace.
So you're high. Are you heightened alert right now? That meme trading is back on.
Well, I think we're doing our normal surveillance, and so we have people who are devoted to that. That's part of our law enforcement effort.
Dude, this guy does not care. Yeah, there's some hanky-panky going on in the market. Dude, Paul Atkins doesn't give a shit. This is Trump's SEC, folks. This is Trump's SEC. You can look at him. He's like, oh, cool. There's some, like, he doesn't care. The market's going to do what it's going to do. That is his quote. Now, if this was Gary Gensler, this would be a different vibe. But Paul Atkins is like, well, let people trade. If they want to trade, they want to trade. Now, we'll get back to him in a second. We do have the entire market that's taking a pretty ugly red candle right here. So I'm definitely getting assigned on this Nebius. 98. I will be a shareholder on Friday if this doesn't bounce. 98.97. D-Wave 10% down. Netflix 9.4%. Tesla down 2%. S&P loses 670. Hoodie 124. Low 120s might be coming up. Nvidia, that's down 0.5%. Oklo down 13%, potentially losing 120. ASTS just lost 70. Oh my. ASTS just lost 70. SoFi 2750, that's down 4%. Navitas, that's down 7%. Oracle, that's down 1%. Uber's down 1%. Rocket Lab's about to lose $60. Holy crap. Rocket Lab down 7%. Is there a headline? I don't see a headline. No, I don't see a headline, guys. I don't see a Trump tweet either. I don't see a Trump tweet. I don't see a headline. Where's Beyond Meat? If everything's tanking, where's Beyond Meat? Is that still going up? Oh my goodness. Beyond Meat is hitting highs of days and the market's crashing. Oh my goodness. This is crazy, bro. This is stupid. This is actually Beyond Meat 733. Everything else is dumping. Palantir 176. Beyond is the safe haven. That's good. So everyone's dumping their Hood, their SoFi, their Rocket Lab, their Palantir, their Nvidia, their Amazon 217, and they're buying Beyond Meat. 750. Why not? Why not 750? What about gold? Is gold still down on the day? Gold. Yeah, gold's low of the day, folks. Well, not low of the day. It's just above the low of the day. It's at 4,050. Low of the day was like 4,020, but still down. Silver as well, 48. That's still down as well. This is kind of stupid, dude. This also, it's hard to rationalize because all the momentum stocks like the Oklos, quantum names, they're all getting hit. But then you would think Beyond Meat and Peloton would get hit. Those are green. But then you have the important companies like Nvidia, Amazon getting hit. But Beyond Meat's going green. So like if everything's getting hit, you would think the momentum stocks get hit pretty bad, which they are. But then Beyond Meat and Peloton are not. Krispy Kreme is still up 26%. It's almost like a select few meme stocks got chosen to be the safe havens today. And then everything else just gets hit. Where's Bitcoin? Are we below 107? Bitcoin just below 108, 107.9. Grab at 548. Yeah, Grab's going to get pulled down with the algos as well on a day like this. And then Hood getting hit 124. All right, well, those who wanted low 120s, maybe we get it. Maybe we get it. 122 would be that last level that we hit on Friday last week in the pre-markets. So if we break that, could get a bit more dicey. Open Door down 10%. Amcor holding relatively strong on a day like this, above 31, but that's still red. CoreWeave down 5% as well. BMNR is probably getting wrecked right now. BMNR, there you go, 48.77. That's down 6. That is down 6. Our average on BMNR is 46. 46. Well, look, I mean, at the end of the day, one could argue that it's healthy going into Q3 earnings. Now, again, we did have that drawdown 2 weeks ago on Friday. We recovered a decent chunk of that, but some of those levels starting to get tampered with again. And I think one thing that the market has been very transparent on is that they want to see good earnings before they give you a premium. And so a lot of these companies, they can regain their premium, but they got to put up good earnings. I think that's okay, especially if those companies have had massive moves. Robinhood is still up over 200% year to date. Nebius is still up over 200% year to date. Yeah, it's not up 250%, but that you just can't complain about the price action given how much it has continued to move. Beyond Meat still moving, 717, up 97% right now. User reports indicate problems with OpenAI. Okay, so ChatGPT seems like it's down. I don't know if that would be causing a market crash, but that could be potentially down. Momentum people getting margin called and creating a cascading crash. Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of momentum stocks are getting hit. So if you bought Oklo at 190 on margin, 121, it's not the easiest to be able to navigate that. Now, having said that, the only part of confusion here is I'm not sure why this is happening, right? So again, S&P down 0.3% of the day. Is that a big deal? Not really, especially given the recovery it's had from last week. However, why? There's no reason why. Nothing I can point to that, which kind of is bullish, because if there's no reason, then it's just algos having fun on a Wednesday, doing whatever they do. But if there was a reason, we would have a little bit more clarity. 1030 slam. This is a bit more of an aggressive 1030 slam than usual. Usually it's like 0.1% down on the S&P. This one's getting an actual drawdown right there, losing 670. But I don't see too much. Let's go back to the SEC chair and get his thoughts on this meme stock stuff.
But we will continue to monitor and take the information that we collect from the marketplace, analyze it, and then make decisions based on that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what do you typically look for there? Is it pump and dump? Is it not disclosing information from people about their positions?
Well, I mean, the main thing is when you're looking at trading, if there is like no news about a company and then suddenly there's a ramp up or a real pump up in the price that's inexplicable, then we start looking at that. That's one example. And then others, around announcements of companies where there's anomalous trading and that sort of thing, where there's indications of leakage or trading on inside information. That's another type of thing. So we have a lot of different tools that we can use to analyze this, and we work closely with the self-regulatory organizations, the exchanges, and so forth, because they are the immediate ones looking at their markets and doing surveillance over that.
Whenever we say that we're going to interview you, always hear from the crypto community. They're very eager to get an update. I mean, Project Crypto, something you announced and you talked about on the show. Where are you on that? Is there any holdup because of the shutdown on some of the clarity and the guidelines that you're going to be giving? And how far can you go in terms of bringing regulatory action and clarity here without the passing of the market structure bill, which is stuck in the Senate?
Well, first of all, I mean, obviously the shutdown does affect our work. Our staff can't be working on developing proposals and some of the things that we want to roll out, hopefully by the end of the year. But if Congress can let us get back to work, that's what we're looking for. But as far as what our goals are, we have a lot of exemptive authority and other sorts of authority that Congress has given us over the years in the various securities acts, and we can use that to focus on our rules and to try to make our rules fit for purpose for this new technology that has come about over the last decade or so.
All right, so Paul Atkins doesn't really care that much about the meme stocks. I mean, you can even tell the way he's talking about it. It's just he's saying the market will do whatever the market wants to do. But nonetheless, you are seeing a lot of these get hit. Now, you're getting a little bit of a tiny V shape on some of these names. Very, very, very tiny V. Potentially, there's probably need at least another 10, 20 minutes to see if that is actually the intraday bottom. But some of these names relaxing a little bit, and we're going to see if they can move higher. S&P 6 668 was the low, back to 669.40. And yeah, I mean, and some of these drawdowns, not even that. I mean, pounds are holding 175. That's pretty damn good. Down 3%, ugly, but 175 not. I mean, it was at 171 last week when we had a downturn. So some of these levels still have to be broken. Again, hood 122. That's the level you want to watch out for. Nebius did not see below 100 last week. So this is a new low for Nebius over the past couple of weeks. I think the lowest it got to was like 112, right? So Nebius is taking a hit right there. But a lot of these other names holding on. Bitmine right there, 48.50. Bitcoin back above 108. That's good to see. Bitcoin back above 108 and Ethereum at 3,800. Make it stop. Unfortunately, I can't make it stop, but we can sit back and watch it happen, and hopefully it does stop. Beyond Meat loses 750, back down to 680. I mean, dude, we're going to have to see if Beyond Meat actually can take a tumble all the way back down, but right now it's still holding its level. GSIT is up 17%. This was the company that put out that white paper about GPUs. Like the fact that this is up, Beyond Meat is up, Krispy Kreme is up, Peloton's up, is very weird, bro. Because the other names like Oklo, which just lost 119, 15% down. It was down 10% yesterday, so that's a 25% drawdown into it. Like if Beyond Meat is pumping, you would think Oklo is pumping, right? Theoretically, they're in the same bucket, but like it's like certain meme stocks get the move, everything else gets hit, which is just a weird way for a meme stock rally to be commencing. It's the last seasonal shakeout. Yeah, I mean, that is also very possible. It might end up just being one of those five. But this seasonal shakeout could be healthier because the shakeout is in a lot of the momentum names that, you know, don't have a lot of fundamentals. And so when things recover, you know, the right names might end up getting the recovery versus some of these other names. Tesla right here, 435. And we got Tesla earnings today, dude. If this doesn't get fixed by the market close, aka the markets continue to be red, I mean, Tesla's going to have to put up some really good earnings to avoid more pain. Where's the heat map? Let me pull up the heat map. There is some green on this. There is some green. Defensives, obviously green. Value stocks are green. Healthcare is green. Microsoft holding green, and everything else kind of getting hit. McDonald's is green because, you know, when things get bad, people jump into a lot of those defensive names. Healthcare probably is UNH green. Are we getting UNH going green? UNH, no, UNH is red, but it's not as red as some of the other names. Look, here's my take on this right now. I don't think this is a short. I don't think this market is a short, especially because we don't have a reason for why we're seeing this red. I think this is just, I hate saying this because people don't like, you know, chalking it up to this excuse, but like, I don't think there's another reason. I think this is algos. Like someone tell me why everything's going down. Please give me a good reason that actually makes sense. It's not China stuff. It's not India stuff. I mean, what is it? Like it's either deleveraging, algos. It's not NVIDIA saying that we're going to, you know, only grow 10% next year. Like it's there's no headline that could make you think, all right, this is a short. The government shutdown stuff, I don't think the street cares that much about that. Like it's a random Wednesday in October and algos want to have some fun. October tends to be volatile. You had a big move yesterday. You almost had freaking 674 on the S&P yesterday. So the market's taking that away. That's 669. I wonder how low it gets. Do we actually get back to 665, which we were at last Friday? But if we don't, then it's maybe staying at these levels. Vultures on Wall Street seeing us all panic and picking up the bones, potentially. People getting margin called. This could definitely be happening as well because of the NBA pre-market. Dude, who won? Did the Lakers win? I didn't even see the game. Oh, they lost. I should have bet on the Warriors. I should have bet. All right, there you go. Lakers lost. Credit issues. I don't think the private credit issue is that serious. I really don't, based on looking at a lot of the regional bank earnings. I mean, could it become serious? Maybe, but so far it's Zion's and Western Alliance that announced a $100 million credit issue. Like, that's just not enough to cause a structural problem with credit. Again, it could turn into something, but it doesn't seem like we have enough data to conclude that yet. S&P is getting a new low of the day, 668.95. Hoodie, 123.75. So that one also a pretty aggressive drawdown, down 6%. Grab down 2%. Beyond Meat still up 91%. And then Palantir right here, down about 3.65. Fear and Greed Index, where are we at on that? We are very close to extreme fear. It's Nadella's. Nadella's comments are old though. Like it's, unless I'm looking at the wrong comments, but that was from yesterday. Like a lot of stuff that's just causing people to sell right now, or causing what I think is algos to sell right now, does not feel like it's anything that's new information. Maybe it's Tesla earnings. The market's scared about Tesla. Granted, I don't know why the market cares that much about Tesla. I mean, Tesla's important, but it's not enough to cause a entire struggle. Like NVIDIA earnings matters way more than Tesla, obviously, right? So I don't know why the market would be that scared about that. Palantir 174, S&P 668.87. There you go, 0.3% drawdown. Let's see if we can get to a 0.5% drawdown. That would be around 665. I don't think it's Netflix causing this. Like Netflix, they were isolated to a Brazilian tax authority that created a $700 million fine, which messed up their operating margins. Like that's just not emblematic of every big tech company that's going to struggle in earnings. I wish that didn't happen for Netflix, because it would have been nice to see big tech kick off earnings with a beat on EPS, but I don't know if Netflix is enough to hurt the broader market. The VIX call expiration is a good point. Lots of calls were bought in September, and they've got to push it back up to get some money back. That is fair. You do have a lot of VIX option trading. VIX right there up 7%. That probably needs to get in the money, which means you probably need the market to take a little bit of a hit. U.S. East Coast refinery increased last week to its highest level since January 2023, says Energy Information Administration. Okay, that's bullish. Also, Trump announced yesterday they're going to be buying 1 million barrels for the strategic oil reserves, which is also super bullish. And they should be, by the way, the average price of oil or gas in this country, $2.98. $2.98. So gas prices are coming down dramatically. Now, if you live in like California or something, it's probably not coming down quick enough, but you are getting oil prices to start coming down. And that makes sense given WTI crude's below 60. But the question is, is that sustainable to the downturn? Trump said he wants to get them below $2 a gallon. I don't know if we get that cheap, but he does want to get there. S&P continuing to just have a red candle. No signs of stopping yet. And as a result, everything likely will follow. S&P 668.81. You're really not seeing any level of intraday reversal yet. So now it's a game of how low does she go? How low does she go? Nebby is below 98. All right, folks. Congratulations to me. If this doesn't change by Friday, I will be... Dude, I wrote my puts when he was at 110. I was like, 98 in 4 days. I was like, really? Well, here you go. Here it is. Nate will finally be happy. Nate will finally be happy. There you go. 97.05 right there on Nebius. That's lost a decent chunk of the move. I really didn't think it would go below 100. I mean, I didn't think it deserved 140, but I didn't think it was going to go below 100. But there you go. That's where we're at. S&P continues to get hit. All right, so now it's just a waterfall. Whether it's filling a gap, whether it's doing something technical. I mean, I'm just reacting to seeing the red candles themselves. 668.35 continues to just go down, which means everything is going to follow with it. Hoodie 122.95, got 99 cents away, 95 cents away from potentially breaking 122. D-Wave 12%. That one's getting wrecked. ASTS down 12%. That's getting wrecked. SoFi should not be down 5%, but SoFi is getting hit. NVIDIA loses 180. I mean, tell me this is not algos, bro. 182 20 minutes ago with a deal with the Dominican Republic, and now 179 for what? Like for nothing other than, well, the S&P is down. NVIDIA is a big chart of the S&P. And as a result, everything's going to fall with the S&P. But then the question is, why is the S&P down? It's like, well, I can't give you a reason for that because I don't see a reason. So I think your best reason is algos, which is an annoying reason, but nonetheless, I think that is the reason. Amazon 217. AMD down 3%. All right, AMD falling with everything else. Palantir down 4, 173.60. Meta's actually doing pretty good today, holding 730. Last time we had this type of move, Meta was closer to 705. So Meta's holding up. Rocket Lab looks like it wants to lose 60, 60.75. And at the same time, Beyond Meat is holding an 83% move today. Do you think Grab can short squeeze? No. I think like the short float is not high enough for it to be a squeeze. I think the shorts can cover if they put up a really good earnings, but I don't think there could be a squeeze because there's just not that much of a short float. Like there's no way a Beyond Meat could happen on a company like Grab. But I do think we can have good earnings, and that can change the perception that the shorts have. But some of these names that are 30, 40% shorted, that's why they're getting a bigger squeeze. S&P continues to go lower. 668.40. It touched 668.09. It looks like it wants to lose 668, and then we're into the levels we saw last week. Yeah, I do agree. It at least gets you a good setup for next week earnings. I mean, again, it's easier for SoFi to run if it's at 26 or 27 than if it's at 30. And then to hold that run after good earnings is easier if it's not running from such a high level. I mean, that is the bright side to a lot of these names that get hit before they get into earnings. It's tax loss harvesting today. Yeah, I mean, there are some people that just paid their quarterly taxes as well. And actually October is when a lot of people that push out their quarterly taxes end up paying it towards the end of it. Usually it's in September, but a lot of people that just need that extra month to file it. You could have some people just selling to freaking pay their tax. I mean, dude, the IRS like 2 weeks ago, they sent me a letter. They're like, "You owe us $4,000," and I'm like, "No, I don't. Like, I don't know." So I call them up, and no one answers. You go through all these AI automated assistants. I'm like, dude. And then I get another message from them a week later. They're like, "We will levy your assets if you don't pay us this $4,000." And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to pay you this $4,000. So here you go. Take the $4,000. I was just like, all right, bro, whatever. It's like, whatever, dude. Take the I don't know why I'm paying an extra $4,000. I have and none of you guys can explain why, but here you go. Like, don't send me to jail. How do you say it? It's Levy or Levi? How do you say this shit? It's Levi, right? No, it's Levy. We will gene your assets. We'll gene your No, it's not fake, dude. It's no. It's from like when you sign into the IRS website, ID.me, like that type of notification from the actual IRS. This is not some text message from some scammer. Like, no, I went to the actual IRS.gov, paid my freaking taxes. But I have a pretty good accountant. I don't think I needed to pay that $4,000. But then you try to call, and by the way, this happened in 2023. They said I owed $10,000, and I called them up, and they redid it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're good. You don't owe $10,000." So I'm like, okay, let me call them up, and then I'm on the phone for 3 hours. I'm like, dude, I don't have the time for this. Like, I cannot. Like, you just try to get through an assistant, an AI bot, and I'm like, dude, forget it. Just take the freaking money. Like at this point, whatever. I don't want you guys to Levi's my assets at this point. Like, it's the worst. Like for a country that has the most, technological ecosystem and infrastructure, the fact that the IRS, we can't call representatives is insane. What cash put can I sell to make 4,000? That was exactly it. No, I think I did owe it though. I just wanted some more clarity. The thing is, like, sometimes this happened back in 2022 as well. Robinhood, delayed some of their crypto reports to the IRS back in 22. And I actually traded Ethereum pretty well. I made like 5-6 grand on Ethereum back in 2021. So in 22, they delayed the reports. So then in 23, they called me up. And I was like, oh yeah, I do have some capital gains that I didn't pay taxes on. But like the point is, like, the whole reason I got into this, because there might be some people that have to pay more taxes, especially their quarterly taxes. And as a result, you know, they might have to sell some stocks. We are getting a little bit of a V shape right here. So you have Palantir 173 to 174, S&P 668 to 669. You're getting a little something right there. Those are those 4 green candles. Hoodie 122 to 124. Little green right there as well. SoFi, we were at 27. We're at 27.23. Little bit of green that's coming in. That's coming in. Beyond Meat, is that one? Well, this one was already up. That one's just going higher because why not? That's just going back to where it was. Nvidia also 180. There you go. 180, 179.20. Yeah, guys, come on. Tell me this was not algos. And tell me this is not algos on the recovery if this ends up being an actual recovery. Right now, it's a very tiny V shape. Like, tell me this was absolutely not algos. And when that happens, you just got to live through it. Like, sure, you can buy the dip, or you can also just look at it and be like, all right, whatever. Like, it is what it is. Nebius right back up to 98 from 96.89. Polymarket to act as DraftKings clearinghouse as they enter prediction market space. Wow. I think this is why Polymarket got that $10 billion valuation, dude. It feels like they are going to be a very important piece of infrastructure for a lot of these prediction markets. I don't know their revenues. I don't think Polymarket or Kalshi make a lot of revenue. I mean, they have a lot of trading volume, but like, does that result in actual profits? I mean, it's very, very, you know, they have like a penny of revenue that they make on every trade. Now, granted, they shouldn't have a lot of costs, so they should be more profitable than not. But I would argue, you know, $5-10 billion valuations are probably aggressive. But if they start acting as infrastructure for a lot of other companies in the prediction market space, I mean, I think the easiest way that Polymarket and Kalshi can monetize is they go to hedge funds and they sell them an API. And those hedge funds pay, you know, whatever, $20,000, $40,000 a year for a license to access like real-time prediction markets data around stocks. That's probably another useful tool that a lot of hedge funds can use for data. So I feel like that's another way they can expand their business as well. Okay, it's Levy. It's not Levi. It's Levy. We will levy your assets if you don't pay us this money. I was like, all right, bro, whatever. It's the awesome thing about the government. They can just throw you in jail if you don't pay your taxes. Dude, the SEC chair literally said, we don't care about hanky-panky, bro. Doesn't hanky-panky mean something else? Like, yeah, hanky-panky, if I'm not wrong, and based on what I'm looking at on Gemini right here, hanky-panky does not necessarily mean miscellaneous activity in the broader markets. It means something a little different. Let's get some coverage on Netflix, and then we'll keep going from there.
Here to break things down is Loop Capital Markets Managing Director Alan Gould. Has a buy rating, a target of 13.25. We were just chatting about it during the break. You want to explain the Brazilian thing first?
Sure. So there was a Brazilian tax issue. It had been disclosed in previous 10Ks and 10Qs. It didn't seem like a big deal. There was a Brazilian Supreme Court case in August with another company where the company lost, and Netflix decided they now had to take a reserve for this. I think it's really a non-issue. I think the reason that the stock is down is because they just hit revenue, didn't beat revenue. Netflix typically beats revenue. Content was great this quarter. They knew they had great content, then throw on top of that K-pop Demon Hunters. But remember, their half-year engagement report, they put out 16,000 titles every 6 months. So no one title is really going to make a huge difference here. But historically, they've beaten revenue by almost 0.5% over guidance. This quarter was a great quarter. The Nielsen data on the gauge was strong, showing their market share. The BARB data in the UK, their market share was strong, and they just hit the number. So I think the street was A, a little bit frustrated that they didn't beat. The whisper number was higher. And B, I think that the commentary on the potential Warner Brothers discovery, Ted was a lot more nuanced, Ted Sarandos, than Greg Peters was a week ago at the Bloomberg conference. So I think those are the two issues driving the stock.
Yeah, we used Sarandos' comments earlier, Alan. You know, from your perspective, I mean, again, I can give you my reporting, which is, well, the studio and the library certainly would be of value to Netflix. Not clear what they would actually do with the HBO.
Gold's down 2%, folks. Look at that. This is the low of day. Gold is $13 away from losing 4,000. That is actually a pretty aggressive move on gold as the S&P tries to recover here, but gold continuing to get hit. So that one's still down. Let's get some coverage on Applied Digital. I know a lot of people are in this one, and let's see if we can get some updates on how this one is doing. The rest of the market still red, but just not as red. S&P almost back to 670, 669.94. Still down 0.2%, but you're getting a little bit of a V right there.
The tenants.
In some of these instances, confidentiality in the agreements don't allow us to name who the tenants are. In our first lease, we named CoreWeave as the tenant. But David, on this, for a hyperscaler, investment grade hyperscaler specifically, that's most of the companies that we target. There's really only 5 in the US, in no particular order is Microsoft, Meta, Oracle, Amazon, and Google. And so that's really who we're targeting. But in this instance, we weren't able to say who it was.
Understood. And right, so we can pick and choose. We can guess from those 5, of course. Right. Either way, they're good for the money, which is obviously what's important, or at least the lease payments, I would assume. Polaris 1 is up and running. This is Polaris 2, correct?
That's correct.
So 900 acres. Initially, 200 megawatts, phased with 2 buildings. I mean, what gives you the confidence you can build it so quickly?
So we started down this path a couple of years ago, and we stubbed our toe a few times, but I think we've really dialed in the process of the ability to build at scale. We have 700 megawatts of critical IT load currently under construction. Part of that is to go into operation actually later this week, and then over the next 18 months. And the goal is to just continue to grow that number of megawatts under construction, and then we have a 4 gigawatt active pipeline. Other campuses, negotiating with other of these similar hyperscalers on those campuses. So we think we have a lot of momentum in the business. We've dialed in the construction process, which is very difficult to do. We've secured the supply chain. We have the power. We have a new capital partnership with Macquarie. And so we've put all the pillars in place to actually go and execute this at large scale really rapidly.
And the capital partnership.
This guy has a tan. This guy has a freaking tan. So nice to see on Applied Digital. I've never heard the CEO talk before, but again, they did get a pretty big deal this morning, $5 billion. They have not disclosed with what hyperscalers they work with. They do have that CoreWeave deal from June, which was also pretty big for them, up 3 or down 3% still on the day. Again, a lot of these hyperscaler sub-leasing contracts continue to be strong. Meta, $27 billion deal in I believe it's in Louisiana, if I'm not wrong, and BlackRock ETFs are owning about 20% of the bonds that are being used to finance the Meta infrastructure build-out for $27 billion. I think it's about 20% is being funded by BlackRock. So you're starting to see more and more of these financial institutions come in and say, we want to finance this because we think there is going to be a meaningful ROI across the board. S&P back to 670. Back to 670. There you go. Hoodie back to 125, Grab back to 550, Oklo back to 123 from 118. So even the momentum stocks getting a little bit of a V, which is inevitable. Again, this is what algos do, right? Everything goes up, everything goes down. Some things go up or down at a higher delta, but nonetheless, when the algos take over, everything moves usually in one direction. Bitcoin 109, that was at 107.9 10 minutes ago. D-Wave even got a bounce up to 29. ASTS right there. It was at 67. Now it's 69. Oracle was at 270. Now at 272. SoFi was at 27. Now at 27.40. And then NVIDIA 179 to 180. We talked about the India-US trade deal in the morning. I mean, that's not confirmed, But yes, that is nice to see if we could actually get a deal with them and the tariffs could go down from 50% to 15%, as was rumored. But hopefully in the coming weeks, we get a deal on that. Meta goes green, 734.93 as well for Meta. Dougie, thank you for the 5 gifted. I'm just seeing this. Thank you, Dougie, for the 5 gifted memberships. And again, congrats on the gains on D-Wave. Azure, thanks for the super chat. Why is retail not trying to squeeze HIMS with 40% short interest? Your bet is as good as mine. I don't know why retail is squeezing Beyond Meat, which doesn't really have as many fundamentals as HIMS. But it's what people want to choose. I mean, HIMS might not be as fun as a Beyond Meat. Beyond Meat right there up 83%. I don't know. I think a lot of people that have been waiting for a HIMS squeeze, it's like sometimes these squeezes have to be organic, right? They have to happen based on the spur of the moment. And maybe that happens to HIMS one day, but HIMS is still also up a lot this year. And I don't know, maybe they have to put up a really good quarter. Maybe they have to figure out the lawsuit with Novo. They have to do something that creates that catalyst. Until then, it's tough. Also, a lot of these squeezes that happen on these meme stocks, they happen for no reason. So a HIMS squeeze would be logical because it shouldn't be 40% short. A Beyond Meat squeeze is not logical, but that's the fun of it, I guess, that it's not logical. It makes no sense. And that's why people kind of pile into the trade at the end of the day. Google, we have some Google news. Google unveils quantum computing breakthrough with Willow chip. Google getting some love right there. Let's see if we can get any coverage on this. I played the clip of Sundar talking about quantum the other day. Google's breakthrough quantum echoes algorithm pushes us closer to useful quantum computing, running 13,000 times faster than on a supercomputer. The new quantum computing algorithm called Quantum Echoes is the first that can be independently verified by running it on another quantum computer. Okay, so Google getting some love right there. The quantum stocks not really moving that heavily. I don't know if it's bearish for the quantum stocks because it means Google's going to win, or if it's bullish because it's validating their industry. It's kind of one or the other, and the market will kind of tell us right here. But they're still down 7 to 10% on the day. Maybe this Google news is not fully hitting the newswire yet, but Google is green at 255. So that's what you got on the Googs. No, I did not buy why does everyone want me to buy SoFi so badly, bro? Why is it like what? I did not buy SoFi. I told you guys, 2650. That's what I'm looking for. If we don't get it, then who cares? I'll sell some puts. Or is everyone convinced SoFi is going to 35? Is everyone convinced it's happening? And that's why they think you got to get in. So we can be friends. I don't know. We'll see, bro. We'll see. We still got a couple days. We'll see going into earnings how this plays out. NVIDIA 180, SoFi 2735, AMD still down 2%, and then Nebius recovering up from 98. Maybe I don't get a sign on that put. 99.53. Sell Olo Grab and move it into SoFi just for this earnings. SoFi earnings is before Grab earnings. Theoretically, I could do that. And if SoFi goes to the moon, we could take some profits and buy more Grab. That could happen. It's kind of worrying me, though, that everyone's so excited, bro. If everyone thinks it's going to go up, I don't know. Like, it seems like no one's worried that this thing could tank back to like 23, 24, which I don't think that could happen either. But I wonder how many people think it's going up to 35. Beyond Meat right there, 592. That loses $6 and still halted. I think regardless of what happens to the stock, the earnings will be really good. Like the quarter will be really good. I don't know what happens to the stock, but even based on Tanner's analysis, I'm pretty sure this quarter is going to be one of the best quarters they've ever had. It just depends now if the stock actually follows it up. All right, so, I mean, you're getting not that much momentum on the other quantum names, even after this Google announcement. All of them are still down about 5%. So we got to see if that's enough to boost these up. Again, like, I don't know if it's bullish or bearish. You could say it's bullish because it validates the space. But then again, if Google solves these issues, and what are the other quantum stocks doing, right? Why are they valued at 1,800 times sales if big tech is already solving a lot of those problems? I think that's the core question. But then again, from a narrative perspective, the idea of quantum being legitimized from a Google and IBM, which, Sundar has been pretty bullish on Google for a while. Nadella's been bullish. I mean, they've not been actively bearish on it. They just have said it's going to take some time for it to play out. That narrative could be enough to also validate some of the industry as well, including those names. Palantir right here, 174, back up from 172.87. It's only bullish for Google. Yeah, it really depends. Because look, if some of the smaller quantum players can play a role, like for example, like NVIDIA's the AI king, but then you have a Micron and a Broadcom and an SMCI and all these companies that are needed in this ecosystem, so it lifts up the entire industry. If Google thinks they've solved quantum, do you need a D-Wave? Do you need a Rigetti? Do you need an IO? Like, are they part of an ecosystem, or are they just competitors that have no chance against big tech? I don't know. And so I guess the market's going to have to ultimately decide kind of how they think this plays out. Fear and greed back down to 27. All right, so you're still seeing a little bit of red there. Gold, yeah, gold. I mean, this is pretty incredible how gold continues to still down on the day, barely above 4,000. That one not easily getting the levels that we saw a while ago. Okay, let's get some updates here on some of the other earnings that we saw yesterday. We'll keep going from there.
4.5% today after missing specifically on margins and guidance. Gross margins came in below estimates, and Deutsche Bank says the muted pace of the cyclical recovery is really creating significant margin pressures for Texas Instruments. Management also guided fourth quarter revenue and earnings below street estimates, with what stood out was an unusually wide range, which could signal they may not have visibility into when demand actually picks up for the quarter. Goldman Sachs says while they do see a recovery across the analog sector, the problem is peers have really just managed their inventory levels far more proactively than Texas Instruments. That means gross margins are likely to recover much faster for competitors like Microchip, NXP, as well as analog devices that you're seeing on your screen right now. But not everyone is bearish here. Evercore ISI added Texas Instruments to their outperform list, pointing to multiple catalysts such as gross margins. They're saying bottoming in the first quarter and then expanding, as well as a free cash flow growth story as the company really exits its heavy CapEx cycle. But adding to today's pressure, China's Ministry of Commerce released questionnaires requiring some U.S. semiconductor firms to provide information on their sales in China as part of this anti-dumping investigation they started back in September. The probe targets analog chip suppliers like Texas Instruments and Analog Devices. So that's adding to the sell-off Texas Instruments selling, and it's dragging down other analog chip.
This is also similar to Qualcomm and the investigation they had with them for antitrust stuff. So you see China cracking down on some of these semiconductor names. Here's what UBS has to say about the state of the markets that we're in right now.
100 isn't a coincidence. I think you have an alignment of productivity, an alignment of policy, and I think that we see that continuing to go forward. I think that you also have some tailwinds that could help us out with interest rates coming down. And what you've seen from the Fed, and you've seen this pivot by the Fed, the Powell POTUS pivot, you've seen a pivot to an understanding that interest rates are going to come down, and I think that that could be, and we at UBS feel that that could be something that will help the market going forward.
And not just Fed interest rates. I also want to highlight just market rates coming down. It's something that Treasury Secretary Bessent actually posted about today when he said, 10-year yields are going lower on deficit improvement. I mean, the Treasury is putting out new data. I think we have a great chart of it. Pointing to actual movement here, if you look at the last 2 quarters, you can see smaller increases of government spending, actually decreased government spending. So they have that happening at the same time that the tariff revenue is coming in, and we're starting to see some progress. I mean, obviously this is a huge one to turn, but do you think that that's having an impact in the market?
Yeah, I mean, you could call it the Doge dividend. It's been a reframe of how people think about spending in Washington. In addition to that, you have a president and administration, a secretary of the Treasury that doesn't think out of the box, but has no box. And you hear the Treasury Secretary talk about stablecoins being a $2 trillion industry. You see Treasuries being used as, under the Genius Act, as something that would be backing stablecoins. So there is an effort to address the fiscal realities of what's going on. A $38 trillion deficit is not something that this administration is going to tolerate, and that certainly is having a positive impact on the animal spirits and on the economy.
Well, a large part of our debt was assembled under the first Trump administration. We know that.
COVID.
We had a COVID situation, and we had a huge increase under the Biden administration. But this is something that is not something that Trump doesn't own or that Biden owned. This is something that has been happening in America for decades now, and it's something that this president and this administration, with Secretary Besson, has decided to address head on. And we haven't seen that before, and that's something new. That, combined with the productivity that comes from artificial intelligence, with lower interest rates in general from the Federal Reserve, this culmination of things can result in a very positive outlook next year.
Right. Do you think the rates coming down are a function of the labor market beginning to crack?
Well,
S&P loses 670 again. I mean, it's choppy, folks. It is pretty choppy. That little V that we had, it's going right back down. It is pretty damn choppy today. I don't have a real reason for why. Beyond Meat from 7 to 630, still up 74%. But it is taking a bit of a nosedive from that $7 level.
I think the labor market beginning to crack has given the Fed confidence to lower interest rates. Perhaps not as fast as Stephen Miron would like to see them lowered, but it's clear that the economy has slowed down. We see that in the inflationary numbers. We don't have so many inflationary numbers now because we have a 20-day government shutdown.
22.
But we have CPI coming out in a couple days because that's used for Social Security benefits. But the fact of the matter is we have $7 trillion in money market funds on the sidelines. This is a result of an inverted yield curve that we've had for a long time. That's changing. That money's going to be looking for a home. And there is a lot of positivity that can come into the market, even from a peace dividend, depending on what happens with Putin and what happens in the Middle East.
No, I mean, my one thing, Alan, and everything you're saying makes sense, and is why we're seeing record levels in the stock market, I think. But are the risks appreciated, and are they factored in? Because there are definitely still some risks there. And so when you get to these levels, you start to wonder, just are we priced for perfection?
Yeah, and I think you see that risk in what's happening in the credit markets. You see it in the smaller credit obligations. But I think that on balance, taking a risk in the equity markets and on any pullback, gaining greater exposure to those equity markets could be something that would benefit. At UBS, we believe that the market could be somewhere between 6,700 and 6,900 by the end of this year. By June of next year, we could see 7,300, and we have a bull case scenario that says 8,000. And I think there's a lot of factors that are coming into play. It's a perfect storm of goodness that could happen, but we have to be cognizant of the risks. You see gold prices going up. I mean, notwithstanding the movement today.
Yeah.
Notwithstanding the movement today, you see gold prices going up. Now, is that a question of people buying a risk insurance, or is that a matter of people understanding that there's fiscal issues that are going on around the world? The fiscal premiums around the world for sovereign debt are something that we have to take note of. But all in all, between the productivity that comes from artificial intelligence, between with lower interest rates and the $7 trillion on the sideline, this is a very positive time to be in the markets.
And it doesn't matter? Do you like small caps over large caps? Do you stick with technology? I mean, how do you allocate that?
So if you look at monumental changes that are going on in the economy, having exposure to technology, having exposure to artificial intelligence, longevity is an issue that is on everybody's mind. I have a birthday coming up, so it's on my mind. But
Happy birthday.
but this is something that we all are looking at, and technology as applied throughout industries is going to change many, many things. So it goes beyond just what we're used to in normal practice, because we have things happening now that have never happened before.
All right, Alan. Thank you for joining us.
It's always good to be here, Sarah. Thank you.
It's good to see you from UBS, Alan.
All right, so UBS is pretty bullish in the midst of all the different arguments to be bearish or bullish on the market. UBS chooses to think this is one of the better times to be in the market. NVIDIA right there at 180. SoFi got up to 2750, and now it's losing 2750. Nebius broke above 98, now right back below it. AMD 231. The VIX still up 4%. Netflix basically 10% down, 9.97%. UNH down 1.3. Rigetti, the quantum name, still getting hit. They got a little bit of a jolt when that Google news came out. Google still holding its boost. The rest of those names getting hit. Where's Oklo? Oak low 120, up from 118, but still at 120. It's a choppy day, folks. So choppy day across the entire board. I still don't have a full-on headline to justify a lot of this stuff. I mean, I don't think it's Russia-Ukraine stuff either. It really do feels like it's algos, but it's very, very choppy algos. Google and GM announced a plan to bring eyes-off driving to market in 2028, debuting the new Cadillac Escalade with Google Gemini conversational AI. All right, so you got a Google GM headline. GM, by the way, had their best day in 15 years. It was up 15% yesterday. So they had a great earnings. GM right there up another 1%. But not that many other headlines to explain some of this stuff. SoFi 2706 and NVIDIA 180.18. 180.18. Who bought the dip? Put in the chat if you bought anything yet. Put in the chat if you bought anything so far today. Let's see. Let's see if anyone bought anything. Bought Applied Digital, SMCI. SMCI must be getting wrecked today. SMCI is what, down 7, down 6.7. There you go. Webull, where's Webull? Is Webull finally below 11? I think a lot of people have been waiting for that. Wow, it's below 11. 1082. Damn. There's a lot of retail investors that think this thing is going to 20 by the end of the year. We got some pretty big TA accounts that are calling for 20 by end of year. This one would have to double, which is not the easiest. Joby, SoFi, Beaminar, Bitfarms under 4. Is it actually under 4? Bitfarms? Oh my goodness. This thing was 650 on Wednesday last week. I remember waking up in the pre-markets and this one exploding, and then after hours, this one exploding again to the upside. I mean, I traded Bitfarms before like a year and a half ago when it was like $1, but then they did the whole data center pivot and they got a 200% move in 2 weeks. 390. All right, so everything's taking a hit. Some names worse than others, but everything's taking a hit. Gold still down as well. There's no I didn't see a major forecast for CPI on Friday. I mean, some people have it coming in at 2.7. Goldman Sachs, I think, has it at 3.1 for core. CPI is going to be weird though, because I wonder how much data they're going to have. I wonder how many arguments are going to really be out there. And what data they're exactly collecting. Here's a little bit of coverage on that, but CPI, I wonder how market moving it's going to be.
Than what it could have been given the extent of the tariffs. We should have goods prices be a little bit firmer. We're expecting rent and OER to disinflate a little bit further from where we were. So net, it's kind of a boring print that puts core PCE at 0.23. Say that. I know. The labor market data we're excited to get. We just don't know when we're getting it.
I mean, it's so interesting.
So they're expecting it at 2.8. Again, it's not going to be something too crazy. Maybe the market's going down because they're afraid we're going to get a bad CPI. But we would have to get an aggressive move on inflation to have a really bad CPI. And I don't know if we see that. So we got to see. My Nebius put is 98 for this Friday. 98 for this Friday. If it gets assigned or not. All right, folks. Do we buy SoFi here, or do I get greedy and wait for 2650? Can I get greedy and wait for 2650, or do we have to buy it here? Match Group owned Tinder will soon require all new users in the United States to verify their identity through a biometric video face scan. Oh, that's not bullish for Match Group. MTCH stocks up. I mean, I don't know if a ton of people are going to want to use the app if they have to do a biometric video face scan. I feel like that's a bit aggressive. But maybe. Where's Orbs? Orbs must be getting hit today as well. Orbs, yeah. Orbs down 9%. Again, look, I love Dan Ives, but I don't really understand WorldCoin. I understand Ethereum. That's why I like BMNR. I don't know if the entire world is going to be hooked onto WorldCoin one day. Maybe, but it's hard to see the vision for that right now. Bitmine 48.20, 7% down on the day. Oklo again loses 120. Look, Beyond Meat's losing a lot of, 770 to 512. I think it got halted at 512. Yep, halted. There you go. Fourth halt of the day on Beyond Meat. All right, SoFi is getting close to where I wanted it. Look at that, 26.85. 26.50 is what I was looking for. It's kind of wild, bro. I really didn't think it would get back here. I thought I thought after the 8% move on Friday or Monday, I was like, all right, I missed it. It is what it is. Palantir 171. All right, we're making some new lows, folks. We're making some new lows. Look at that, Palantir. Last time I bought Palantir was at 171, like 4 weeks ago. That means Hood should be a 122-ish, 122.50 on Hood. Grabs what, 545? No, grabs 550. Rocket Lab, are we below 60? We are 7 cents away below 60 on Rocket Lab. And then ASTS 67, loses 90. Going down. We're going down. Wait, where's the S&P then? Where's the S&P? Oh, wow. S&P low of the day. Yep, we're going down. 667. Damn, bro. They really played with us right there. They took it all the way to 670, let it chill out for a bit, and then they took it right back down. And I don't have a headline to give you guys to explain this. It really just feels like a choppy day in October, which theoretically should create some pretty good dips if there's not a real reason for this. There you go. They're taking her down. They're taking her down. What's the volume on Beyond Meat? 1.14 billion as it's halted. Yeah, this is weird. I mean, I really am trying to get some more logic on this, but you're not getting much. I mean, you had some Wells Fargo CEO quotes. You had some Jamie Dimon quotes. Nothing too crazy. Luke Capital says Netflix is not going to buy Warner Brothers. Oh, the Democrats are going live. House Democrats going live to discuss the shutdown. All right, so I guess you got Mike Johnson was live an hour ago, and now you got the Democrats going live. Mike Novogratz quote: Bitcoin will likely stay between 120 and 125 by end of year. Okay, so that's taking a opposite approach to a lot of the other bulls that are saying Bitcoin's going to 200,000. Novogratz is saying, nope, expect 125 by end of year. Hood, little recovery to 123, and then S&P, little recovery from 667.50 to 668.25, little bounce, but still red. Upstart, how about that one? Upstart, that's down 7%. Chris showed a good chart today that is important to understand when we think of Upstart or SoFi. Take a look at this. Auto loan data showing that the bottom end of the consumer, pretty damn weak. So prime borrowers are mostly staying current on their car payments, but the percentage of subprime borrowers at least 60 days late has doubled since 2021. And as you can see right there, the dark purple chart or the line is the percentage of borrowers who are 60 plus days late on car loan payments. It's now above 6%. 2021, it was less than 3%. So, I mean, this is something that I don't think we can ignore. It's not, I think, the structural bear case, but it is definitely something that you just can't ignore because, again, a lot of the market is being propped up by people that have assets. Those assets are going up. That's why people are able to keep spending. If the stock market crashes and people are able to not keep spending and the bottom half of the consumer already is 2 months late on a car payment, well, yeah, you start to get issues. But then the broader question becomes, well, why would the market crash? And is it the chicken or the egg, right? Is it the lower consumer defaults so badly that the market crashes, or is it that the market crashes, and therefore the people that were holding up, that are subsidizing the lower end of the consumer, can't subsidize them anymore. Therefore, things just continue to get way worse. And again, the question goes down to, well, if NVIDIA, if Amazon, if Microsoft, all these companies are putting up phenomenal earnings, the market shouldn't necessarily have to crash, which means maybe the upper half of the consumer can subsidize the lower half. But that is a real dynamic that's playing out in this country. There are two economies. There are two economies. Costco's green. Okay. Costco, what's green today? Costco's green. Beyond Meat's green. Is Verizon green? Verizon is red. What is actually green? GoPro's green. Berkshire, are we green? On BRK. Berkshire is a little green. American Express is a little green. How about Walmart? Walmart's green. Home Depot's green. Nike, the VIX is green. Yes, the VIX is green. Nike's green, and then McDonald's is green. This is why the Dow Jones basically got to all-time highs yesterday, because you had a bunch of these value names that were catching a bid. And then obviously Apple, one of the biggest components of the Dow Jones. People are scared, bro. Buying McDonald's and Nike? People are scared. Microsoft's a little green as well. Microsoft actually didn't get hit that bad today, like the other big tech stocks. All right, I'll put the first order for SoFi. We'll do it. We wanted to do 500 shares before earnings. We'll do 250 right now. We'll do half of it. I wanted 2650. It's at 2684. We might as well do it in. There it is. 250 for SoFi. 2685. All right. So now the next buy is at 2650 if we get there. And that's going to be our earnings play. That's going to be our earnings play. Tanner better be right about this shit, bro. Tanner better. Of course, it goes to 2677 as soon as, of course. Why not? Why not? Someone just sold me their 250 shares at 2685. Of course. Tanner better be right, bro. I better see 1 million freaking members as per Tanner. You know Tanner's video got banned yesterday on YouTube, and someone flagged the video as like Tanner's guaranteeing stock performance results. And Tanner was like, I never guarantees that. Tanner is so like cautious on saying like this stock's gonna go to the moon. Yet like he's like he hedges himself every time. And so he just messaged YouTube. He's like, bro, like, what are you guys like? What is, and then they unbanned it after like 10 minutes. But it was hilarious. It was like Tanner, out of all people, to promise that a stock is gonna go higher. I've never heard Tanner say that in my life. But they got his video yesterday. I'm still holding him accountable, though. I want 35 after earnings, Tanner. I want 35 after earnings. Nebius is still getting hit. S&P, low of days. Low of days, 667.50. Nebius, 96.30. 96.30. Mitt flagged this video. I don't even know how to flag a video, bro. It's just, I feel like it was some troll that did it to Tanner, but it's like, you got to be really bored to flag a video when someone is so cautious for even saying that type of stuff in the first place. Pound you're below 170. Wow, 169.80. All right, so we're getting a real retest on a lot of these names. Covered calls today. Those are the only things that are printing. If you've got some of your positions covered, today is probably a great day to close it out and write new ones or roll it at a lower price. NVIDIA down 2%, 178, low of days. AMD loses 230. All right. So we got, that's what we got. Choppy action across the day, but we don't have a reason. If anyone has a reason, please let me know in the chat, or at least what you think is the reason. Google, one of the only names that's holding somewhat of the green, but still losing 256. I don't know. I'm just not seeing a single real headline to quantify a lot of this stuff. I mean, Trump, okay, so Trump did say that China would get 155% tariffs yesterday. And I know that sounds super crazy, but like the market did not care, bro. The market did not care. The market was like, okay, cool. Like we were doing Technical Tuesday when that announcement came out, nothing happened. Like just no one cared. So I don't think it's that. Also, I think Trump's just saying stuff to say stuff before the meeting at this point. The bubble is popping. That's the reason. Maybe, dude. Maybe the bubble is popping. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's all a bubble. Maybe NVIDIA 27 times earnings is all a bubble. And it's all ready to pop. Beyond Meat. Wow, Beyond Meat. Speaking of bubbles, 467. Look at that. Shout out to the schmuck who bought it at 780 this morning. And it's halted again. All right. For those who are looking for the dip for Beyond Meat, there you go. 467. That's your dip. I mean, again, a lot of this momentum, it goes up, it goes down. And it goes down pretty violently as much as it goes up. Michael, thanks for the $5 super chat. What do you think is the best ad for the day? I'll let the chat answer that one. If you have to pick one. Okay, so you give us a choice. Palantir, Rocket Lab, Nebius, Iran, Hood. Pick one. All right, what do you guys think? Best ad for the day. I'll do a YouTube poll on this, but dude, YouTube needs to allow more than 4 options because you gave us 5 stocks, but I have to one of them because YouTube doesn't allow freaking 4 options. Palantir, Nebius, Rocket Lab. All right, Michael, you're going to have to tell me which one to take out. Best one, best buy for the day. Michael, which one do I take out? I got to limit it to 4. I don't want to pick between the 5. Because then everyone's good. Dude, sometimes people get so emotional when I like, oh, we'll take out Nebius from the list. And everyone's like, oh, Mitt hates Nebius. He has this vendetta against Nebius. And then it's like, oh, I'll take off Hood from the list. And like, oh, Mitt's not loyal to Hood anymore. It's like, it's so emotional with how this happens sometimes. And I get it. It's like sports teams, right? We're just so emotional about it. So I can't, if I take off Iran, oh, Amit's jealous. He missed the Iran run. That's why Iran's not in the poll. It's like, no, I just need to, I need to get rid of one of these. I need to get rid of one of these. See, I'm not even going to do the poll because then it's going to create a narrative. Until Michael tells me which one to take out Iran. Okay, there it is. He said it, not me. He said it, not me. All right, best buy for the day. What do we think? Best buy. Davis says, nah, you actually hate my picks. No, Davis, I just don't understand why you're obsessed with Zeta. That's all. I think it's a phenomenal company. I think their EBITDA multiple is definitely cheaper than other people in their space. I just don't understand. And I need to do more research on Zeta. Zeta has a retail following, and I don't understand why. I really don't get why people love this thing. It's not a horrible company. It's not a meme stock. It's not a shitco. It's just advertising, data analytics. And I'm like, why is this so exciting to people? I don't get it. Zeta is basically flat for the year. But there are people that like it. And so it's just Davis hasn't been able to give me a good enough reason to, to get excited about it. But people love it. Okay, what did you guys pick? Nebius. Wow. 30% for Hood, 35% for Nebius. Nebius in the lead here. Damn, bro. Remind me to never talk shit about Nebius. I need to make sure I don't piss off a ton of people. Look at that. I think Nebius has made a lot of people a lot of money this year. Nebius has made a lot of people a lot of money. And I think the thing about Nebius too is it was one of those data center plays that everyone knew had potential, but like to actually see that $20 billion Microsoft contract changed everything. And that's what really made people a lot of money this year in the data center space. And there you go. That's why you're getting some love. CoreWeave. Wow, loses 120. Forget 120. It was at 140 last week, right? Yeah, we saw it at 142. CoreWeave down to 160. So CoreWeave and Nebius is basically trading down together. Beyond Meat suspended again at 418. Now Beyond Meat went from being up 100% this morning to 15%. That means D-Nut should be down as well. Krispy Kreme, yeah, it was up 40%. Now it's up 8%. GoPro was up 20%. GoPro's now up still 17%. So GoPro holding on. Where's Oklo? Oklo holding 120, up a little bit. I don't understand why Galaxy is down 4%. I don't get it. They had a great earnings. I can chalk it up to what I said in the morning, which is that too much was baked into the price. It's still up over 100% year to date. But I'm not sure why today. I mean, I know there's a drawdown today, but they had a really good earnings yesterday. So you would think that would protect a little bit of the drawdown, which begs the question, if a Cypher, an Iran, a TeraWulf, what if they don't have as good of earnings as Galaxy? Galaxy beat EPS by 200%. What if they don't have the best earnings? Because if Galaxy can't get any green off of really good earnings, and those stocks, like an Iran, is up way more than a Galaxy year to date. So they're just going to have to put up really good numbers for the street to not get too worried about it. This is weird on no news. Yeah, I think it's one of those days. One of those days in October. Nick says Hims feels like an old fling that I'm thinking about calling again. Nick, weren't you one of the main people in my chat back in February talking about Hims? Don't tell me you ditched Hims. Did you ditch Hims? Because you were in love with this freaking stock in February. The amount of comments I remember from Nick Moss saying, mate, you got to look at Hims. You got to look at Hims. And you were right, by the way. I think it was trading at 25. I thought you were right. But if it's an old fling at this point, you kind of moved on. The government is still closed. Yes, the government is still closed. Microsoft 523, McDonald's at 312. When I sold half my Hims at 62 last week, I texted Nate. I was like, I'm out. It's like, fuck you. It's just like, and I was like, Nate, I don't know, bro. It's at 65 for no reason. I think it's kind of like I'm taking some profits here. And I don't know, dude. I mean, again, I don't think it deserves to be at 47, but I don't understand why it was at 65 either the other day. Wow, 46. All right, so it's losing 47 here. Losing 47. BM&R, are we tanking there? BM&R, 48.50, still down 6.5. And that one is down. I was full ported into Leaps when it was 25. I made 5x and saw a better opportunity. Well, there you go. Look, makes sense. 500% returns on Hims. Not bad at all. Look at Broadcom. Broadcom's not taking it that big of a hit. Look, I like Broadcom, and I think Mizuho said yesterday that Anthropic is their mystery $10 billion client. They already have a really good relationship with OpenAI. I think Broadcom will be fine. I don't understand enough of the ASIC market to get as excited versus just to buy more NVIDIA. And again, I think this market is one of those, like, if you buy Broadcom, you have to be bullish NVIDIA and vice versa. Like, it's going to be really hard to buy one of the big ones and not think all of them go up at the same time, or at least over time they all go up. So I feel like there's a world where you could be relatively bullish on both names, even if you only buy one of them. Let's see some of these other headlines. I don't see anything too crazy. SoFi back to 27. Okay, cool. Well, we're in. We got our 250 shares, 27 on SoFi. Is the second V happening? Maybe. Where's the S&P? Palantir back to 170. Oh, maybe we're getting a little second V. We need the third one. And then maybe triple V will be here. Maybe. All right, a little bit of another V. How much are you down now? Dude, I don't even want to check how much. Oh, shit. That's that's a little bit more than before. 129. I was up 120 yesterday though, so it's like it's just giving back everything from yesterday. So there you go. 129. Dude, some of this stuff is just like, it's just numbers at some point, dude. It's like, whatever. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. It's a freaking, you know, being an investor is like, it's like you're on a freaking swing set all day. You just go back and forth constantly. Costco right there, 950. Costco's still green. All right, what else do we have? What else do we have? Yeah, as Julian right there. Yo, Julian. So shout out to Julian, bro. Julian is Julian. I just discovered his Twitter account the other day. Julian's been on the Hood and Palantir journey with us for a while, and I think I showed you guys the screenshot the other day. But our boy Julian, when Donnie T tweeted whatever he had to tweet about China, this was his P&L. Not pretty. Not pretty at all. Nice little 4.9 milli day. But then when things recovered, the market taketh, the market giveth. It was back up 4.1 milli. So, you know, it goes up, it goes down. It is what it is. It's the nature of these markets. Let me show you guys these videos too. Dude, he made these edited videos on Palantir and Hood. These were such epic videos. So let me show you the Palantir video, and then I'll show you guys the Robinhood video.
I bought $7.5 million worth of Palantir stock. Palantir hitting a record high this morning. I have been going on about Palantir since it was $7. Price 16.56.
Palantir having its best day in a month.
It's a historic run.
So how much of that did you buy? In this week, 10 or 20,000 million. Today, it hit $100. It was a crazy moment.
Hit a new record high today.
Palantir at $125.
Valuation is up 550% in 1 year.
This is by far the most insane thing that I've personally seen in all my years in the market. I bought 7.5 million.
That's wild, right? He's been on the journey on Palantir and Hood for so long, and this was the Robinhood video.
I'm going to buy $1 million worth of Robinhood. For 2 years, I've been telling people how undervalued Robinhood is. 1,011,884 bought.
Here's a Robinhood are moving higher, and you can see up 15% right now.
I think this is just the beginning of Robinhood. I think that they could double over the next year.
People have to take a hard look at Robinhood because this stock will be up more than it currently is.
Robinhood's running today, up 9%. Nobody knew that I got almost $5 million in Robinhood.
If they can keep that going, though. Robinhood, shares of Robinhood are meantime hitting a new all-time high.
I added close to another $3 million to Robinhood. Bought on the dips, and I'm still very, very bullish Robinhood for the future.
This is just wild. This is the greatest innovation I have seen.
I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. One of the most insane rallies that I've ever seen in my life. I'm going to buy $1 million.
That's so epic, right? That's so freaking epic. If you guys want to follow him, I'll put his Twitter in the chat. You guys can check him out. But the market giveth, the market take it away. Yes, those were 2 reels. Now, I guess me complaining about reels is me leading to showing you guys more reels on the channel. But those were worthwhile reels. Those were like meaningful reels. But it's just cool, right? Because it also puts into perspective, right? Obviously, he's working with a much higher portfolio value there. But like, you know, a drawdown like this will take a lot of money off the table. And the dollar size is a lot. But then relative to the portfolio, it's just like it's part of the swings that you have to deal with. Even on names that have made such massive moves, obviously like a Palantir and like a Hood. Palantir back up to almost 172. Bitmine trying to get back to 49. SoFi. All right, maybe we got the bottom on SoFi. Maybe we did. 27.16. And then the S&P trying to get back to 670. That's 3 reels for the day, bro. That's more reels than I've ever showed you guys in like a year. That's more reels than I've showed in a year on this channel. Which is wild. Bro, 767 of you guys followed me on Instagram, and now I'm afraid to post on Instagram. Now all of you guys are going to be judging me on every post I make. Like, I'm actually kind of nervous, bro. Like, I don't even know what to post on Instagram now. I feel like everyone's going to be judging me. There's only one account I follow on Instagram, and it's NVIDIA. It's hilarious. They were like, you have to follow an account to sign up. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll follow NVIDIA. Like, I was like, that's the one account that I follow. Okay, so the results of the poll officially are Nebius at 33%. Hood's at 32%, though, for the best buy of the day, as per Michael's question. And Palantir's at 25. Rocket Lab didn't get that much love. Rocket Lab at 10%. I mean, look, I probably agree. It's probably Nebius or Hood. I do think Palantir's going to have a really good earnings. And I kind of think Palantir can make a run to 200. Now, I know valuation-wise that would be tough to understand, and I get it. But so is 180. It's not like 180 is the most easy valuation to digest. I just think they're going to have one of those quarters that the street's going to have no choice but to say this growth story is not slowing down. Having said that, if it stays flat or goes down, even after really good results, no one can complain because Palantir is up 140% this year. I do think Hood's going to have a good quarter as well. I think Nebius is going to have a really good quarter. And the thing about Nebius is they could also announce another deal. Maybe not this quarter, but they could signal that they're getting closer to another deal. And that could be pretty strong for them as well. In terms of which one is the most undervalued, I mean, relative to growth rate versus market cap, it has to be Nebius, right? Like Hood and Palantir are $100 billion companies. Nebius is at $24 billion. They've quintupled their revenue. And again, they're not at 140 anymore. So they're only up, if we do the math, after that Microsoft deal. They are now up, I shouldn't say only. They're only up 50%, but they were up like 150%. So like, it's still a pretty big move they made since the Microsoft deal. But that Microsoft deal really did change a lot of the earnings trajectory for them as well. So that's what you got there. How about Tesla? Can we talk about Tesla? Because we haven't even covered. All right, so let's talk about Tesla and then I'll be out. Tesla 435. I mean, let's do a pump or dump poll. I'll be live at 3:45. I think I'll have Jose with me. If not, we might have some other people, but Tesla will be the big story of the day. There's a couple other companies that are reporting as well, but Tesla will be the important one. So Tesla, pump or dump. What do we think? And what perspectives do we have on Tesla? Here's the thing that I'm thinking for Tesla, and I said this yesterday, but I don't know what the company will be able to say on electricity, energy, power, deliveries, or FSD to get this thing to really go higher, given it's up so much from 335. I think Elon will be able to paint a story after the earnings that are out that basically says Tesla is the greatest physical AI company that's out there in the market, and that theoretically could help the stock. Now, granted, if the stock was at 330, this would be a different question, but the stock is up way above 330. And most people probably didn't think it would even touch the 400s, given how much it was stuck in the low 300s. And there's no earnings growth for it to go up, so it's just pure excitement on the $1 trillion pay package and the XAI equity stake and Elon buying $1 billion of stock. I just think they need to have a quarter that doesn't mess up any of their momentum. And as long as that happens, I think Tesla stays strong. And at least it holds the 420s, you could say. But I really don't know what gets Tesla to move to like 450, 460. See, the problem with robotaxi news, all of these headlines that they could put out, whether it's Optimus, robotaxi, any of this stuff, none of this, I think, is going to change the dynamics of the earnings picture. So it would be old narrative. So then the question becomes, is the narrative good enough? And it's like, yeah, sometimes the narrative is good enough, but the narrative is good enough when the stock's in the gutter. Tesla's not in the gutter. It was in the gutter, but then after Elon bought shares and that pay package came out, stock's up a lot from the lows. I mean, the stock was at 240 on the lows. It's at 435. Year to date, it's up 15%. So my gut tells me it's not going to be a fun quarter for the stock. And I definitely wouldn't bet on it, like take an earnings gamble. But maybe they announce something. I mean, they're not buying back their stock. They have $38 billion in cash, but like the street already knows a lot of the numbers. So it's like the numbers can't be the surprise. The surprise is going to have to be Elon announcing something that we don't know about, FSD or robotics or energy, or like energy demand is going insane. We just signed a contract with NVIDIA to power a bunch of data centers in the Dominican Republic, and Tesla's going to be the battery pack that, something like that, maybe. But outside of that announcement, I just don't know what to expect for Tesla. Camillo said they will show off the Optimus 3 in the shareholder meeting. I wouldn't doubt that. That would be pretty cool in November. What is that, November 6th? But I wonder if that is enough for the stock to get some momentum here. Most of you guys say dump. Wow, 60% of you saying dump. 60% of people saying dump on this. I don't think it has to dump. That's the thing. By the way, for those asking for Tanner's video, I just put his link in the chat so you can go to his channel to see a SoFi video. I don't think it has to dump. I just don't think it has to go to the moon. And maybe that's, taking the easy answer out, saying it'll be flat, but like, I think there's enough momentum to not have this one tank. Also, they did have, way better deliveries than expected. So the numbers shouldn't be so abhorrent like they were 2 quarters ago, where you would expect like a massive 10% drawdown as soon as the numbers come out. Beyond Meat's still up 19%. It lost 750 back to 430. Look at that red candle all the way down back into the 430s, but still up 20% on the day. All right. I think that's it for me, folks. That's what we got. I'll be back on the market close. Very, very choppy day. I will be live at 12:30 actually on Twitter. So we're going to be talking about a stock called GXO. This is a logistics company. I do not have a position in this, but this is another one that should be important in this broader onshoring, reindustrialization, semiconductor theme that we've been talking about. So I'll put my Twitter in the chat. I will be live on Twitter Spaces. It'll be 30 minutes, 12:30 to 1 p.m. And then we'll be back for the close, and we'll see what we got on Tesla earnings. Summary of the day is it's choppy. There is no real headline that I can give anyone for why the S&P is down 0.26, but then again, the S&P is only down 0.26. A lot of momentum stocks still getting hit pretty bad. Probably not the worst thing in the world for some of the names that don't have a ton of fundamentals. The other momentum stocks that are getting hit that do have fundamentals, like a Nebius, like a Hood, those will probably come back over time. And now we just got to see how Tesla earnings kicks off the Mag 7. And we'll get those results later at the end of the day. All right, cool. Yes, I did buy SoFi. 2680 is what I bought SoFi. 2680. Summary, we watched 3 reels. Exactly. Those are good reels, though, dude. Those are fun reels. These other reels that people send me are just like, dude, what is the point of this? All right, word of the day. What do we got? Word of the day is Lanny.
Lanai or Lanai.
Dude, I had so much hope when she said or. I was like, I'm gonna be right. I'm not gonna be that wrong. I'm gonna be right. She said or. I have a shot on that or. And dude, tell me this doesn't look like a Lanny. This looks like a freaking Lanny.
Lanai or Lanai.
I really thought when she said or, I was gonna be or Lanny. I was like, see, I'm okay. A veranda, especially a fully furnished one, used as a living room. What the heck is a veranda? A roofed platform alongside the house. Dude, these word of the days have been trashed for the past couple weeks. We need some better word of the days. We need some much better words of the days. But there you go. That's what you got. Lanai is your word of the day. How have you never heard of a lanai? How have you heard of a lanai? This cannot be a common word, bro. People use this word often to talk about their roof. Like what? I've never heard of this word, bro. I've heard of deck. I've heard of deck. That's a normal word, deck. I thought it was Lanny. Every day I use this word. All right, whatever, bro. Whatever. I guess those that have a patio know this word. Amit, I highly recommend taking American English course on how to talk an American accent. Speaking of American English, that reminds me of Duolingo, which reminds me of the stock draft. Let's look at that real quick. Matt, 39%. Matt was at 50 yesterday. I was at 37. I'm at 31. Steve's at 6. Tanner's at 19. Chris is at 8.7. All right. So Matt still in the lead. All right. That's it for me. Thank you, everybody. We'll be live on the Twitter Spaces at 12:30, and I'll be back market open or market close, and we'll get Tesla earnings. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. I'll see you guys on the close for Tesla. Bye, everybody. Have a good one.